Yeah, I know how modern digital cameras are.
Yeah, well, exactly. But that one was.
I love that too. Like, I'm going back to the past. I'm taking technology from 1999 with me.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Because we don't have time travel now.
That one was disproved.
And was it?
Yeah. Do you know what the answer was?
What's that?
He was Canadian.
Bullshit.
No, for real. This is in Toronto.
It's a basement podcast.
You ready?
I was ready yesterday.
Yeah, there we go. Welcome back to the Dylan and Joe Basement Podcast. This is episode 54, and we are happy to be back in action this week to have another episode that takes us to sort of the unknown, sort of not the unknown, some things that go back and forth. And I've got my other half here. Joe, you want to say hi to everyone from the Dylan and Joe Basement Podcast? This is Joe.
Hello, everybody. I'm talking to you from the past. When I'm speaking now, it will have already happened by the time you've heard it.
This is true. There is the past, the present, and the future. And even that can be debated. Joe, what's the topic today? What can we tell everyone about?
Today, we're slamming together the topics that we love on this podcast. We're going with the unexplained, the mysterious, scientific, historical, where science meets fiction. We're talking about warping through space-time itself and possibly going where no man's gone before. Time travel.
Well, one man has gone there before. And
can't wait to talk about him.
And he was made very famous because all he wanted to do in life was go back to the glory days. Just go right back to the glory days of his football career.
You son of a bitch. This is number one on my list.
We got to start with something funny. So he wanted this guy.
We did not talk about this before the podcast. We just both had this idea.
In time was to go live the glory days of his football days. And he did this with a certain device called the Modulus.
Joe, you want to tell us about the Modulus? A quarter mile over them near mountains back in my day. We could have gone to state. Could have gone to state. Put me in, coach.
I reckon you know a lot about cyberspace. You ever come across anything like time travel?
Easy. I've already looked into it for myself.
Right on.
And we're talking, of course, about Uncle Rico from
Rico,
critically acclaimed film Napoleon Dynamite.
In his orange van. Halfway through the movie, or more like 3/4, it's finally time for him to put his money where his mouth is, and he buys a time machine from a box called the Modulus. What the Modulus does is it's a box that looks like just a giant lunch box.
It looks like an erector set from like the 50s, like metal erector sets or whatever, like Sandlot.
Yeah, it does. And it's got old style label machine labels on it that says
the raised print
in red, and it's got C user manual on it for how to do it.
And also you have to use crystals to power it, obviously.
Yep, you have to use crystals. And it has a wire connecting what looks like a what are those things that you jump on that have the spring?
Pogo stick.
Looks like a pogo stick, only small, and you put it in between your legs and you hold on to it like a bicycle.
Yeah, and then you put the ring around your head with the wires connected so that you can.
And then when it's time, you turn on and you can go back and you set the year.
Yeah, you gotta set the year. Don't be crazy. You don't want to just go anywhere. You want to go to exactly to the state semifinals.
Set the varsity. Year, You turn on and you go right, you just disappear. But that's not what happened because I guess he didn't read the user manual.
Yeah.
What does it actually do?
Well, that amount of electric energy directly into your nutsack is not a good thing for the human body. So it's a real jolt.
So it's a big giant joke. He's ready to go. He's buckling up and getting nervous and ready to go back to the glory days of football. And he literally just electrocutes his balls. And some guy sold him this, and that's the whole fucking thing.
It's just like a transistor in your fucking nuts, and you just train with the voltage.
Because it's just even funnier because they just know a girl would never do this.
Yeah, yeah.
If someone's gonna buy this, it's gonna be a guy, and it's gonna be a great joke, and we're literally just gonna have someone pay to electrocute their balls.
Don't forget the crystals.
The crystals. God, is that funny? So, anyways,
that's so funny. That's exactly the I thought of like all these crazy movies about time travel, and I was like, don't forget Uncle Rico. And then the first thing you bring up, we are on the same page, my friend.
The same page. And just want everybody, if you I imagine you've seen a Napoleon Dynamite. There are some movies on the list that we're going to talk about later that I actually haven't seen. Everyone's probably going to throw up or go electrocute their balls because I haven't seen it. But that is just so goddamn funny. It's just one of those things that you think about on a Tuesday when you're just driving in your car, like Uncle Rico electrocuting his balls because he wants to time travel for the sole purpose of going back to football.
In high school.
Oh, man, that's funny. So
his whole life could have been different.
Back in '82, I used to be able to throw a pigskin a quarter mile.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Watch this.
What the heck are you doing?
That's what I'm talking about.
yeah, that's right.
Could have gone to state.
So time travel is a concept that most people, you might find that we're not most people, or I'm not most people, or Joe's not most people, but most people only believe to exist in the works of pure science fiction. But
I think it's one of those topics that's been much like all the other concepts we talk about in the show. It's a tale as old as time, though. Even in ancient times, people still thought of the concept of it's like being alive. What if I could go back? What if I could go forward? I mean, I think as soon as you understand your place in time, it doesn't matter what time you live in. I mean, obviously, in ancient times, they didn't think they could use the what was it called? The modulator?
Uncle Rico's?
Yeah.
Oh, it was the modulus.
The modulus. They didn't think about that. They didn't think about electricity, but they did think that, there's some way to shift through time. I mean, as soon as you see the clock ticking by, even proverbially, and as a human being, you see people getting older and dying. You see babies being born to the world. You make mistakes. You wonder what's going to happen tomorrow. I think it's a universal idea for humans to say, what if I could go back and forth and not just always be here all the time? I don't think that it's a unique idea to modern society, just that modern society has better ideas on how it might be accomplished.
Yeah. I didn't even think of this until now, but I crashed a car one time.
Shocker.
Only time. Never had been gone. And it was my fault. And I wasn't paying attention and I rear-ended somebody. Everyone was okay. I was okay. And it all happened so fast. And my first thought was, this is just a big misunderstanding. And I was like, was my first thought. And then I'm used to playing racing car games where you hold Y in Xbox and you rewind every time you make a mistake. Like if you blow a corner.
Yeah, like Prince of Persia or Blinks.
The fuck is that with the Max? No.
Braid is another game you can do that with.
Yeah, it's great. So if you like I used to play Gran Turismo when I was a kid, and I would actually do 12 or 24 hour races, and I would do it over days. And there was no option to hold Y. And me and my brother were like 10 years old, and we were just about to complete a 24-hour race. We were driving a Honda NSX, and like the last corner of 24 hours, we fucked up and came in like sixth. And I put 24 hours of my time on this earth into a virtual endurance race, and I couldn't hold Y.
And who got hurt first after that happened?
I don't know. I don't.
I,
but we
I'm
probably
pretty
just-
sure your kid brains didn't process that and go, hey, you win some, you lose.
Yeah, exactly. But now instead of strangling each other, you can just hold Y and save yourself some childhood trauma.
Yeah, and
So-
that is also a great concept in time travel, which is video games having save states, which I think that anyone who's played a big game like Skyrim or Grand Theft Auto or whatever, it's the dream. Just save it there and then do whatever you want and then just load it and go back. Like, almost like going back in time, like having a tag there.
Yeah,
You
or
can go
Rumble
back to.
Roses X. You forgot to mention that.
Everyone would love to. Everyone would love to just do a quick little rewind, skip back one scene before that, and just try it again.
Yeah.
The shortest version of time travel, but it's like the most simple version, but it's the best. Just like, hey, I fucked that one up. Why don't I just go back, hold Y as you said, and just go back a little bit and just try it again?
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Who
it'd be
doesn't
great.
want that?
Well, because it could screw up everything. If you did.
Oh, nothing's happened yet.
And
That
then life
version
would
of it,
really feel like a simulation if you did that. But anyway,
for sure.
So, so going forward in time is theoretically easier than going back in time because we have real life examples of this.
Yeah,
So
let's start off
explain
there.
time
We're talking
travel.
about real time travel.
Real time travel. So
It is possible.
It is possible. So theoretically, if you go fast enough, you can observe time, and the further away you get from Earth, obviously, like with the astronauts, they're always a little bit younger than
Yeah, the folks who live on the ISS, the International Space Station, are about 5 milliseconds younger than people on Earth since they've been up there, because they actually are experiencing time slower than the people on Earth are, because they're traveling at, I think, about 10,000 miles per hour.
right.
If you do that for long enough, then the gap between you and the people on Earth widens. And 5 milliseconds is negligible, but try being 5 milliseconds younger on Earth. It's impossible. You
Yeah.
have to go fast.
Unless you have the modulus, it's not happening.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and they're only going 10,000 miles an hour.
Right, which is
You-
insanely fast, but that's not even close to the speed of light.
No, and this is how far away we are from this. So the fastest object created by man has gone 164,700 miles per hour, or 45 miles a second, which is only 0.002% the speed of light.
That's fucked. Like, think about how fast that is. That's insane. What do you say? Miles per second? And when you start measuring things miles per second, that's just insanely fast. And
164,000 miles per hour is 45 miles per second.
yeah, so every second you've gone 45
So
miles.
fast.
And that's not even, a 0.05% of the speed of light. It's 0.002.
Yeah.
0.002. So it's not even half a percentage of the speed of light.
Yeah, and if you were to go that 45 miles a second, it would only send you into the future 2 milliseconds if you were on the ship for a whole day.
For a whole day. Yeah. So that's not doing much.
No, so it'd take you years to get any sort of progress.
But yeah, that is, I mean, I think it's worth explaining just shortly that it comes from Einstein's theory of relativity that if you can travel, the closer to the speed of light you can travel, you actually are experiencing time slower. It didn't make any sense to me as a kid. I remember learning about it and being like, you brought a clock with you. I'm like, who cares about the clock? The clock isn't time. The clock is an object that turns gears. Like, why does that matter? But it actually experiences, time at a different speed than anything else. So actually, the faster you get to the speed of light, the slower time is around you. I don't understand why that's true. It just is the nature of the world. It just is. So if you go at the speed of light and you could travel that way, not only would you be going that fast, so you could travel around at that speed, you would actually be experiencing time itself at a slower rate. And it would get closer and closer to stopping, to the fact that if you could travel at the speed of light for a year, go out and come back from Earth would be significantly older than what you would be at that time. It's essentially time traveling into the future. It would take as long for you as a year, but the Earth would have already experienced many, many more years than you were traveling at that speed. It's strange, but it's the way it works.
Yeah, and the only way I can explain this to the general public is two things in a simple form. When you are say you're going in a car going 100 and you see people having a conversation, you're having a conversation like this, but as you're passing them, it does sort of feel like they're barely moving. And then furthermore, if you're going 100 in a car on a highway and everyone else is going 65, you can maneuver around people who are turning dramatically because you're going faster. It's not, doesn't relate fully. The only actual thing that relates that I'm going to talk about, that's just what my brain is doing at the moment. And it could be
It's a good metaphor to like kind of frame it in your head, even though, like you say, that it's not what it actually is like, but that's a good way to kind of like imagine what's going on.
The actual example of this is looking at stars right now.
Yes.
You're looking at the past, which is so nuts.
Mm-hmm.
That's how far away they are. You're seeing stars that exploded billions of years ago.
Yeah, there's no star you've ever seen that is present. Even the sun you're seeing after the fact. And that's the closest one we have. So all the stars that you've seen, I think I don't remember the exact, numbers on it, but I believe that the North Star, which is the brightest star in our sky, not because it burns the brightest, it's because it's one of the closest ones, is about 400 light years away. So when you look up at the sky tonight and see the North Star, you're seeing the North Star as it was in the time where people were still sailing galleons across the ocean. That's what it actually looked like then, hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, and that means if you're going light speed, it would take you 400 years still to get
there.
I mean, that's just unbelievable amount of just something brains can't comprehend.
On a speed of light ride.
So these theories come from Albert Einstein and they come from Stephen Hawking for the most part.
Yeah, they're the two most famous examples of these. I think they are. And
it started with Einstein.
Yes, yeah, he was the first one to understand this concept, and he was the first one to understand the concept of space-time as one word. It's a fabric that's interwoven. There is not time, this overarching concept, and then space that time happens in. Space and time are one thing. That's why you can go fast enough that you can change the way that time works. If time was separate from space, you could go as fast as you want. Time keeps ticking the same way. But because they're so interlocked, you can actually affect the way that time works by traveling through space at different rates of speed, which wouldn't be possible if time wasn't part of space, which it is.
Right. And he defines, not fully defines, but space-time is influenced by the mass of an object and the speed it's traveling at.
Which is also why when people say, what happened before the Big Bang? There is no before. The Big Bang, when it happened, there's something that might have happened to cause it, but there was no time or space. When the Big Bang happened, that's when we understand the beginning of space-time. So there's not like you can be before and after, because there's no before if there's no time. You have to have time to have before. So when it happened, there became this. And before that, there wasn't a before. It just always is this whatever thing is. I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but I thought that was a crazy part about the fact that there was no time before the universe. The universe is time itself. So whatever is before the universe, it doesn't really exist as a before as the way we see it, because we're humans and we live in space-time. So we can't really think about the concept of before because there was no before.
Yeah, and the one interesting thing is besides physics is that this is not a true statement, but time exists only in our heads. Not true. But we are the only living thing that we know of that can go back in time in our heads.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're the only living thing we understand that comprehends time and deals with it in our own minds. Like you said, yeah, you can live in the past in your own head.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like right now, if I smashed a window, that happened. It actually did, and there's proof of it.
Yeah, because you can see the results.
Yeah.
But what if you smashed the window and you forgot you smashed it? Then there's just a smashed window.
That's true.
And you assume it was smashed at one point in the past.
Yeah. So Einstein's theory, just because we want to wrap this up real quick with these two folks, it's all about E equals MC squared. That's what E equal MC squared proves. It proves that time travel into the past is possible.
No, no, not into the past, into the future.
Well, I've got it here that says time travel into the past is possible theoretically, and scientists say that it's still impossible for us to put this in practice. It doesn't mean that it's impossible, though.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Well, as far as I understand, like Einstein's theory was like you can travel to the future for you, as far as you're concerned. You can't do a thing where you blink an eye and then you're in the future, but you can travel at the speed of light and return to another place, and it will be the future for them. It'll be the present for you. It's relative. That's the theory of relativity.
Like theoretically, yeah. Like theoretically, if you decide, if you're just all of a sudden standing still and go in a big circle in light speed, immediately hit light speed in a circle, you'll get back to where you started and still see yourself. Like that's actually physically possible.
Yeah, you'll see yourself starting your journey.
Yeah,
which is fucking terrifying.
It's so strange.
Very white, very weird.
Yeah, that doesn't. It just blows your mind a little bit. And so
and Stephen Hawking expanded on those ideas.
He did. So that's the next part. So what he says about Einstein's
theory, he doesn't say a whole lot, does he?
Well, I was going to try to get an app on my phone to have him as a special guest today.
I mean, what that would have been something else.
That would have been really funny.
I mean, it surely is one of the most gifted minds of our time. And
I mean, I can bring him.
God
in right
felt
now
it necessary to strike him down.
I mean,
pay for his brilliance.
I can give us a quick little pause, real quick, and just get a little type a couple things in.
What? Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right, guys, we're back, and we've got the Hawking synthesizer.
Get ready, bitch.
We're gonna do a test run here.
Dr. Stephen from beyond the
Big
grave.
fat load of cum.
So just making sure it works. So right from the guy, it's the man himself. We have an excerpt about what he says about Einstein's theory. So Joe, while I type this in the synthesizer, just say something, just so I can have the time to do this.
Sure thing. So Stephen Hawking, another brilliant physicist, he's actually one of the people who theorized the existence of black holes, which we only proved very recently. It was mathematically proven well before this, but he's one of the first people who was like, black holes exist. And I'll tell you why. He understood about black hole radiation, and a lot of his things that he theorized were proved in his lifetime, but even more of them are being proved now after the fact. The guy's brilliant. He got struck down by a particular disease. I can't remember. It's a neurodegenerative disease where when he was in his college years, went from a brilliant outgoing guy, and slowly he lost the use of all his motor control in his entire body until he couldn't move at all. But he almost had a locked-in syndrome. His brain still worked brilliantly. He was one of the most intelligent people on the planet, but he couldn't even wipe his own ass. And also, he was a ladies' man, even into his later years. He liked to be saucy and flirt with his device that he used to type with it. And then eventually he lost the use of his hands even. And it actually worked by his eyes moving around until to the point where he could barely move at all, but it still kept working for him. So anyways, the guy's a brilliant mind. And I'd love to hear from him. Yeah,
so we're going to hear from him. So this is what Stephen Hawking says about Einstein's theories, just generally. After the ad. Come on.
I hope that his system, he got past the paywall.
Oops. Yeah, right? Oh, come on. No, I don't want to play. I really don't. No interest.
Clash of Clans. Download now on Google Play.
You know, it actually looked like Aegis Wing, and I missed that.
Aegis Wing is a great game.
So good. So anyways, here he is talking about Stephen Hawking. Sorry, talking about Einstein's theories.
Dr. Stephen Hawking.
To travel with a speed faster than light is almost impossible, at least in our world. And if time travel will ever be possible, the past will make you stop.
That was actually identical to what he like. That sounded exactly like him. We could probably find a clip of him saying that.
Yeah.
That's so right on. And whatever that app is, I want it without the ads, please. That's fantastic.
You get in the ads. You can get the app.
Yep, get the ads. Is it
it's
called
pretty cool.
Stephen
In
Hawking?
honor
How
of-
he talks? What's it called?
And in honor of him, it's probably the right thing to do for the Dylan Joe Basin podcast
Mhm.
to integrate this into DJ.
I think that would be great.
Probably the right thing to do.
Mhm.
Honor of
That way
great
he could
minds.
finally speak through the device.
Yes, exactly. So because everyone
Yeah,
has
I
a
mean-
device to speak through. So, anyways,
And I like how he also stuck with that until he died, which in that device was first introduced to him like in like the late 80s, early 90s, and he just kept it because that's like how his voice sounded to the world. So he didn't want to keep changing it. He could have had like an Alexa AI system being like, "Hey, my name's Stephen Hawking, blah blah blah," but he was so used to having that he wanted to keep that one. Because he
Yeah.
could have updated it every 2 years, but he stuck with the same system and just updated the software so it worked better. But it still sounded like this when he talked, and he could have had it sound less like a robot, but he wanted to talk to the world in the same voice. And that wasn't the app, that was just me.
that was Joe. Wow.
Yeah.
So
That's what I was saying, though, right? Going to the past, impossible. Not impossible, but as we know now in physics, we don't know how to do it. Going to the future, very possible.
Yeah, we don't. That really becomes science fiction, sort of, because we know that it's possible to go to the future. We don't understand what it takes to go back to the future. Although, two things. One law of physics is made to not allow us to change the past, but it's not, we can't go back to the past. And then the whole reason that we can tap into this for a hair, H.G. Wells wrote the novel The Time Machine, which turned into a movie that came out in like 2002. And
it first came out in like 1959 or something.
H.G. Wells, I don't know what his deal was.
Yeah, well he was a science fiction writer. He wrote War of the Worlds, I think, right, too. He wrote a bunch of science fiction novels that are super
I was gonna say,
famous.
he sounds like he's from the 1800s. Well, he might be.
I think he's from the early 1900s, late 1800s for sure.
Yeah,
But they made a movie based on his novel, like back in like, the old movies,
2002.
like Wizard of Oz era. I'm talking about like Wizard of Oz time. And then they remade it in 2002 and no one gave a fuck because it sucked so hard, apparently. I don't know. I've seen a lot of clips from the original one. I've never seen any clips from the new one.
I saw it in theaters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about it.
I will tell you about it. So again, it's based on Einstein's theories, and the whole entire goddamn movie is about.
Well, that movie's obviously retconning it because H.G. Wells didn't know who Einstein was because he died before Einstein, or he died before Einstein was actually saying all this shit,
H.G. Wells.
Yeah, H.G. Wells would have been, I don't know, 50 years older than Einstein when he was born.
But Einstein was saying this shit in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah, but H.G. Wells was writing it in late 1800s.
No.
In the Time Machine, the guy's wearing like fucking Sherlock Holmes stuff, and he has like a steam-powered fucking magical mechanical machine with crystal balls and stuff. He didn't know about relativity when he wrote the book, right?
We got our timelines mixed up because he obviously
Oh, so appropriate for the
wow.
podcast.
He obviously wrote the book after Einstein. I mean, why
Did he really? That's my mistake.
Yeah,
I'm
we can
talking
look
my
it up.
ass
I don't
now.
know when the novel came out. I mean, I've got it right here, but anyway,
But I'm thinking that you're probably going with the movie, and the movie probably retconned it to be like, oh, it actually works because Einstein.
well, it's almost like
He
Interstellar.
had published it in 1895, so that's about 40 some odd years before Einstein published his theorem of relativity.
Why the fuck does it?
Well, the
say right here?
2002 movie obviously is shit, and they tried to make more sense for us now because they didn't want it to be an old-fashioned magical mystery tour, which is like Willy Wonka's boat or whatever.
What
Which
kind
is
of
basically
bullshit?
it's Willy Wonka's boat. The guy sits on, and he pulls a big lever, and then it goes willy 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 willy, and then the clock spin around, and then he goes to the past.
Yeah, I don't know why it would say based on Einstein's theories, though. That's why I'm so confused. Anyways,
Yeah, it's
I saw the movie. Yeah, that's nuts. The movie in 2002 was actually, I liked it.
Was it good?
I tried to watch it recently, and it's like very poorly animated, but it's about this guy, in the 1800s with the weird suit and the top hat and whatever it is, and they're in like Central Park in New York City or something, and she just gets shot by a robber, like in a very formal way with a flintlock.
Yeah, like a duel, but
formal.
you didn't know she was part of it.
Very formal late 1800s robbery with a flintlock pistol.
Yeah, he's like, "Have at you," and he loads it up with the ramrod.
Yes, exactly, pretty much, probably. And he sees this, and she dies in his arms, and he just decides he's going to build a time machine to go back to stop this from happening. So it all turns into Groundhog Day, where he just keeps going back to that moment. And since it was fate, every single time he went back there, she died a different way. It's almost funny.
Good Lord, that's so brutal.
And then
that is not the novel at all, by the way. The guy goes to like the ancient world and stuff.
Well, exactly. Because and then the end of the movie, he fucks it up so goddamn bad that he's like ends up in hell. But he's
what
present.
The fuck? Is this even the book at all? I don't think they just they just bought the title.
I don't know.
Like I said, I don't know much about the book, but from what I know, the guy was like the character's like a scientist who like wanted to build a time machine, and then he like got stuck in the past or whatever. But the story isn't that he wanted to go back to the night that Batman's parents got murdered and save them from death. Or that sounds more like a Groundhog Day, and they just made it. They just called it H.G. Wells' The Time Machine so people would go see it because Groundhog Day already came out.
Yeah, good point. So if anybody has seen the original movie, the new movie, and read the book,
please, we need you to email
phone in and let us know the real deal here. Theorize about the Time Machine, the movie.
He goes to hell. Why the fuck is that part of it?
Because he fucks up so goddamn bad that he.
But what is hell in the past? In the past, the Earth was hell. Is that the idea?
He just keeps messing.
This doesn't sound like sci-fi at all. It sounds like pure fantasy.
I mean, it's not. Hey,
hell should not be involved in time travel.
We're talking about theories, and you got no fucking proof that his fucking flintlock situation going back to hell or whatever is not as possible as time travel.
I don't know. I picture hell as existing now. You don't have to go back to it, right? You just go to another place. It's like saying I have to take a time machine to go to China. It's like, no, it's still there. You just take a plane.
Well, I just think that he just kept going back so much that it just kept destroying the code that the moment of time was written in, that it just got so raw dogged.
Tearing the fabric of reality apart.
The fabric of reality gets just so fucked up so bad that he just end up with fucking Lucifer.
Yeah, I think they just wanted to put the devil in it.
Yeah, it ends up.
He's always a fun character.
Ends up getting a pineapple shoved up his ass. Little
Nicky. Hell yeah.
Good reference. Great fucking movie. Not about time travel. So that's
do you mind if we bang through the other possible methods of time travel before because I want to talk about pop culture time travel for sure.
Absolutely. Of course. Let's do it.
We already talked about the idea of speed of light travel being you can travel to the future in that way, because let's not forget we can time travel. We do it every day. We travel to the future at the same rate every day. I mean, we are always traveling to the future. We're never staying in the present, and we're never going to the past. That's why it's so much easier to theorize how to travel the future, because we're already doing it. We're just doing it at a constant rate. We can't increase unless you go super fast. But there's a couple other ideas on how to do it. The other one is wormholes. We've never discovered a wormhole in space, even though they're in every sci-fi movie ever. We actually don't know if they exist for sure. We believe they do because of the way the physics works out and astrophysics and shit like that. But if they do exist, as far as we know, they are beyond microscopic. They would exist on such a small level. They're basically like seams or twists and turns in the fabric of space-time that we exist now. So it's almost like, I don't know, finding a piece of thread on planet Earth. And it's like, that's how small it is. And if that was the thread that actually twisted it around, the idea is that maybe there's a next dimension that's all bundled up and a little tightly coiled. And if you could get in there, you could actually travel in between dimensions. And if that's possible, then perhaps the wormholes lead to different parts of the timeline, because they could lead to different parts of reality altogether. Unfortunately, none of them that we can even theorize are big enough to go through. You would need an insane amount of energy even to make them big enough to put a human body through them. And we can't prove they exist for sure, but they are theoretically possible.
Yeah, and to visualize this, what Einstein was talking about when he was talking about wormholes, and to go back into the past, you would he says that you would only be able to return to the. So if you did find a wormhole, or you had a time machine to go back and past, you could only return to the time when the time machine was created. That's time machine. Now to wormholes, you need to find a stable wormhole, put it on a spaceship, fly fast through space so that time on the ship would slow down, and then the astronauts could then go through the wormhole back to an earlier time.
Sure,
And what exact? That's kind of it, which is confusing because you have to go fast enough to actually be able to go through the wormhole. It's so weird, but
Through the wormhole.
what a wormhole really is it was explained multiple ways, and
I have a good way to explain it visually after you're done. Just so you
Yeah,
know.
I've
That's
got
why I
one.
got up and left you. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. Oh, so you're gonna show us with your hands? Because I was gonna show us with words.
Well, you can explain with words. I can show us with a piece of paper and a pen.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean it's the same thing. I was gonna say if you take a hot dog,
Please.
if you take a really long, so it's just so you have a hot dog, and then you
Picture Nathan's Famous.
you have a really long hot dog, and time is that hot dog from
Yeah.
end to end. Like you're at the beginning of the hot dog and the end
It's
of the
not a
hot dog,
bowl.
but it still takes you as long as it takes you to go through that hot dog to get to that end of the hot dog.
Right.
And then, but if you have a wormhole, you're able to fold the hot dog in half and stick a pencil through it. And then,
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm about to do. You're fucking my shit. That's
and then
exactly right.
that's a wormhole. So instead of getting from A to B with normal time, you're able to get from A to B by folding a hot dog in half and then just getting through there that way. Because
That's exactly right. That's
could
exactly
be a million years, but now all of a sudden it's a millisecond.
the millisecond. Exactly right. Yeah. So it's you have to describe it by using 2 dimensions because we can't picture it in 3 dimensions. We live in 3 dimensions. So you have to have a 4th dimension in your mind to understand what that is. So yeah, the way I heard is that like picture the world it compressed into 2 dimensions and you have 2 points, which I'll immediately lose here between the 2 X's. The way you get between them is just going through the straight line to connect the 2 of them there. And it takes you how long it took me for my pen to draw across it there. But if you could fold space-time, which would be possible through a wormhole, like Dylan said, you can put the hole through the 2 of them. And now you're immediately going through both of those. And it's much quicker of a journey between them 2 right there. And that's not really what it'd be like. It's not a piece of paper. It's not a hot dog. That's the best way to visually explain what a wormhole would do, because we can't picture what a wormhole would be. We were like, is it like a big tube you go through it? It's like, yeah, but that you're thinking of 3D space. 3D space is all we know. This would have to be in the 4th dimension, which is beyond what we have, which is why you have to pull it down to 2 dimensions for us humans to understand what it might look like in that sense. Cut right through the same piece of paper, but the piece of paper is in 3 dimensions. We all live in it. Fucking weird. But the wormhole thing would work out if it even goes there. We don't know if wormholes actually do travel between dimensions. We just know that they theoretically exist. And if they do exist, they're so small, we'd be lucky to put, a molecule through one. So it would take a massive amount of energy to put a person through it, never mind a spacecraft. So I'd say that one is pretty low on the list of ways we're going to be able to use time travel, at least as far as we understand technology right now. It's basically as science fiction as the H.G. Wells thing is.
It's not
right
as
now.
science fiction as a combining, subatomic particles to create a nuclear fusion.
Right.
From say it was 1900 and you're thinking about that, you're like, that's just fucking crazy.
Of course.
Now we've been doing this for almost 100 years.
Mhm.
And
It's a good point. It's impossible as of right now when we understand science. Doesn't mean it couldn't be possible in 5 years when we make a new discovery.
yeah, I mean, they're as we've discussed on
Dylan Joe Basement Podcast.
Dylan Joe Basement Pot, yeah, that one. The Sun in a Box, and specifically exactly about that.
Yeah.
About having artificial suns, and if someone fucks up hard enough, some sort of particle collider, things go in light speed and this type of stuff in a controlled environment, and just creates a fucking wormhole and sucks us all through it. And
I'll be dead.
You can only
if that
have
happened.
theories make sense. You can only test theories when you test theories. Besides that, it's just E equals MC squared is just a theory that does work out.
Right.
But-
But theories, when we talk about in science, are a little bit different than theories. Like if I say, my theory is that like this, like a scientific theory is much more concrete. Like, for example, gravity is a theory in science, and gravity's pretty well proven, right?
It's well proven, but I think
Oh no, I'm sorry.
gravity.
Gravity's a law. Evolution's a theory. So like you could have mountains of evidence, and it can still be a theory in science. In science, a theory is like secondary to laws. It goes like law, theory, concept, hypothesis. Like it goes down the list. Theory is like basically anything below like the most prominent, easy to explain bullshit ever. It's like gravity, law, evolution, theory, like E equals E equals MC squared, relativity, theory. But it's not a theory like, oh, I thought of this thing yesterday. It's like it took us 50 years and mountains of evidence to make it a theory. So a scientific theory is different than like a theory that I might have about why traffic is so bad on Wednesday nights.
Yeah, but even the
It's like
scientific
a capital T theory.
Yeah, however, I think gravity is a theory that has laws.
Oh, really? I thought
Based
that
off
was a
of-
law. I thought it was a
based
law
off
of
of my-
gravity.
Based off of my AP physics days, which just for the record, I did quite well on all of the hands-on things and got a 1 on the AP exam, which means I might have got not even a single question right. So
Hell
I'm
yeah.
not trying to brag. Was in the class, but
Oh, you got in the class, man. I wouldn't have even made it into AP physics. Fuck that. Too much math.
I don't know how I made it in. Anyways, my whole point is that I think a theory is something that is even the most robust known theories are in like facts and science are still just theories. It's a weird thing
because it's always a moving and molding thing. You can't just say this is the end of it, never change it, it's done.
Yeah,
because science is the idea of taking in new evidence and forming new ideas based on it.
Yeah, exactly. So enough about theories. We could talk about that for an entire day.
Sure, we could. Another one is super gravity, which they actually pulled this off in a couple of science fiction movies. But basically, the concept works the same with E equals MC squared as this super light travel, which is that if you experience massive gravity, so if you're near a super dense object, time actually slows down the closer you get to it. So the same as time slows down if you're going insanely fast. If you're being pulled by gravity at an insane level, time slows down for you too. In fact, if you're getting close to a black hole, the closer you get, time dilates in that way. So as you're entering a black hole, it would feel like it's a long time, but at the same time, it's an instance in reality outside of it. So if you could experience gravity in a super immense sense, you can actually slow time down for yourself and almost pause it. Because at the moment that you reach a black hole, time is almost frozen for you. But at that point, you're well dead, so you wouldn't be able to experience it. So that's another way to try to, you can't reverse it. You can't go to the past, but you could actually almost freeze time like you were doing in the speed of light thing, where if you could get back from that black hole, time would have slowed down for you so much that it's almost like you travel to the future.
That is interesting. Very interesting.
And they do that in one of the movies that I'm going to bring up later, which is told by scientists as the most accurate representation of time travel in any fictional work. Put a pin in that.
Wow.
And the other one is suspended animation, which is kind of a cheat. It's more of a cheat than any of them. It's time travel in just the sense that it's time for you. If you could freeze your body in a cryostasis like an alien, or if you could pause your mind or upload your mind, something like that, it would be essentially time traveling, because as far as your consciousness is concerned, it was a blink of an eye, but you've passed, 20 days, 100 years, whatever it is. If you can be frozen, whether it's by actual ice or chemicals or electronics, when you wake up, boom, you time travel. Just like when you go to sleep at night, you time travel for 8 hours if you're lucky.
Yeah. There's another undescribed theory, and it has a lot to do with time machines. And when you think of like Star Trek, when they go into portals and these type of things,
Yeah.
It electronically breaks down all the molecules and matter.
Oh, you mean like the like beam me up, Scotty?
Yes. Yeah. It changes matter and is able to move it to a different place. And I have one example that is we'll get to in our next segment, sort of. But most time machines that were created on this earth that may or may not exist were done with extremely large amount of voltage and
Big
magnetic
energy.
fields. Yeah. So they're able to break down matter in such a unique way that doesn't cause damage to cells that they know of. And it's able to, because electricity moves at a certain rate that's close to the speed of light mixed with it's
I mean, the only thing that's slowing it down is just the actual material it's being conducted from.
exactly.
Electrons move at the speed of light. It's just that, whatever insulators or resistors we have, the only thing that slows it down. If we just let it go, it would go at the speed of light.
That electricity is definitely manipulated a little bit by air density and humidity, as well as there's one more thing I was thinking of: air density, humidity, and gravity.
Yeah, it's like any object. It's friction. It's air pressure. It's like even electricity, even electrons, they can get slowed down by all the other things in our environment, just like any other object can. They just happen to have an advantage of being super small and going insanely fast.
Yeah. Yep.
They still affected though, like all y'all are.
Yeah, correct. So those are the methods that we know of on the Dylan Joe Basin podcast for
possible time travel
that are well documented. And we'll get into some examples that change a little bit, but they have to do with everything, like we said, from electricity to magnetism to light speed to traveling super fast to a massive amount of gravity, which requires a massive amount of mass. Like black holes are the densest things known to man.
Yes.
The density is, and the weight is not even.
You can't even understand how dense it is.
Yeah.
I think I've heard it before. It's like putting the entire mass of a sun onto like the head of a pin.
Yes.
So it's still all the same mass. It's just compressed so dense that it would still have the same gravity as the sun, but it would be almost microscopic. I mean, black holes are dense as fuck.
Yeah. Yep. And
it's a lot of gravity.
And a fun fact is densest element is osmium. OSMIUM. And UPS, USPS, the US Postal Service, has a $14 flat rate mailing envelope with a weight limit. And I think it has a weight limit of 75 pounds. Don't quote me on the exact numbers. And it's like 4x6. It's like a little, no, it's not 4x6. It's bigger than 8.5 by 11 by like a little bit. And flat rate box.
Feet?
No, inches.
Okay, yeah.
And you think, if I put like a car diff in there, like the back end of a car, that's gonna fuck it up or whatever it is. And per volume, so if let's say it's 8.5 by 11 and the weight limit is 75 pounds, if you filled it with 8.5 by 11 of osmium, the densest element on the periodic table, it would still only be like 50 pounds. So it is physically impossible to
you can't fill it with more weight than it.
You can't. There's no way on Earth
Wow.
to put more than 70 pounds in that space, even with 100% osmium. You still can't do it. You're like, no, I could definitely do this. Like that size, I could definitely put that much weight in there somehow. Nope, not possible. It's not physically possible
as far as we understand. Yeah.
So, and we're just talking about gravity and black holes and how dense they are, and how
that is a great fun fact for that.
Yeah, it's a fun fact. Yeah, and you just think like, how could something be denser than like a crystal? How could a black hole, which is made of like gas and matter combined, and
it's really, I mean, it's not really made of any of that. Yeah, I mean, it's
right, but it's so weird because like there's pressure involved. It's just a weird thing. So
yeah, it's like an event. It's like saying that a whirlpool is made out of water. It's like it is, but it's really the lack of water and the force going into it that makes it a whirlpool. Like that's the way that black holes are made out of gas is the way that whirlpools are made out of water. They aren't made out of it. They are the event that happens within it because of the fact that it's surrounded by it kind of deal.
Yeah. So that's a really good example. So I think it's time to talk about some examples on this planet of actual time travel.
Let's
And-
please.
And then some theories, some conspiracies, some whatever the fuck. Then we'll get into some pop culture shit.
Yeah. Why don't we? We'll talk about that, and then we can get into the ramifications of what time
Yeah.
travel is, and then we can
Exactly.
take a little break, and then just gush about time travel stuff.
Do it.
Right on there, big boy. Let's hear it. I want to hear your conspiracy shit because I left this completely out of my research because that's not my place in the podcast. That's your place.
That's right. So weird. This is on Weird But True, and this is my favorite.
Already, I have a bone to pick.
Yep. And if I could
Weird,
share my
but-
screen right now, it's literally just like you scroll down from the main thing, and then it's just like an ad of porn games, some girl,
Yep.
naked girl, a doctor from Southborough tells how to remove a hanging belly, and then a fucking dick. So
Yeah, local singles in your area. Yeah, weird but true.
weird but true.
Weird,
Uh,
but maybe not true at all. But we'll see.
Yeah. But I just love how I'm reading this, and there's literally just a dick like in the middle of the fucking thing.
Yeah, nothing to solidify your your belief in science than to have a bunch of porn ads on the banners when you're reading a
yeah, and I
study.
literally can't even screenshot this because if it goes on, we won't even be able to put on YouTube. Like,
Yeah,
it,
no, don't do that.
it has a dick on it. It's so funny. So
That's how you know it's weird but true.
yeah, that's how you know it's weird but true. And speaking of weird but true, in early 1995, Mikey Mike the Mike fucking Mike Madman Markham attempted to build a time machine in his backyard in Stanberry, Missouri.
I already
and
like this guy building
and
it in your
he-
backyard.
backyard.
The top government entities can't even start this project because they can't secure funding because it's so ridiculous. But this guy's going to do it in his backyard.
Well, he started doing it. Well, that's the end of the story is his backyard. It starts off in his fucking kitchen or something.
Oh yeah, he had to expand.
Yeah. So he decided to create something called Jacob's Ladder. That's what he decided to name it.
Great movie, by the way.
And it's a song by the band 10 Years. And
Hell
he
yeah.
called it that because it kind of looks like a fucking ladder, and we know that Jacob's Ladder is an old tale. And he he's not an idiot. So he used a modified compact disc laser to reduce air resistance between two poles, looking like this. They're shaped like a V,
hmm
and this produced a continuous arc. And anytime you see like Young Frankenstein or any Frankenstein movie, you always see like an arc traveling up and then dissipating like this.
Yeah, that's the old mad scientist. Bzz, bzz.
Yes, exactly. So and since he reduced air resistance, it ended up looking like sort of a vortex in there as well, a little bit different. But so he made this by increasing voltage, and that's how he's able to get to an arc. And he threw a sheet metal screw through that vortex to see what would happen. And he claims that it disappeared for about half a second and then reappeared a few meters away a second later.
Oh, almost as if he would have blinked his eyes and then opened them.
Exactly. And
Oh my God, watch this. I'm going to throw this pen. I'll see how far it can go.
yeah,
It
seriously.
went
Oh my
across
God,
the
it's
whole
over
room in a
there.
blink of an eye.
Blink of an eye. So
But in the meantime, it didn't exist anymore. And then it reappeared on the other side of the room.
yeah, and then it says sex lasts more than 3 hours without Viagra. Write down the recipe. Oh, sorry.
The recipe is time travel.
I just wish you could see my screen. It's just fucking
If you could travel at the speed of light, sex could last an infinity.
that's what it says under
Time
the dick.
slows down.
Under the dick on my screen right now is just it's just ridiculous, dude. I can't. It's so at that time he was 21 years old and he was a student of
Oh, okay. So he's a fresh
yeah,
brain.
he was young. 95, he was 21, so he's born in the fucking 70s. And he wasn't an idiot. And however, he's got a point. So he's like, all right, figured out time travel for some fucking reason. But now I need some more testing and I need more power because whatever I'm using is not going
Yeah, we don't only
work
need to
out.
send a screw 10 feet. We need to send me back to my glory days in high school so we can make the state
Exactly.
varsity championship.
That's right. So yeah. If only Uncle Rico knew about this guy.
You should have reached out to this guy. They
so
probably went to
he's
high school
gonna-
together.
He was gonna buy 6 transformers, like the ones on telephone poles, and those weigh 300 pounds.
Oh my god! Thank you for clarifying. I thought he was going to buy Optimus Prime, Starscream, Megatron, Bumblebee, and I ran out of Transformer names.
Yeah, I don't know. You'll have to figure that one out later.
No, you know what I'm talking about. They're more than meets the eye.
Yeah. So he ended up stealing them from the St. Joseph Light and Power Generating Station in King County, Missouri.
Hey.
And he got away with it for a bit, and then he decided to do experiments in his
Until
backyard.
they looked at his power bill and they're like, Jesus Christ.
Well, even better.
You owe us 20 grand.
Well, yeah, exactly. Even better than that is that while he was testing his backyard with 6 transformers, he caused a blackout in several blocks of his neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then the police were able to track that back to his house, and he was arrested for stealing 6 transformers and spent a bunch of months in jail.
Yeah, that'll
So-
do you.
So anyway, so then you're gonna love.
I
this.
love that though. He's smart enough to know how to do that without killing himself, but not smart enough to think this will not end well.
This is not gonna end well. So this is where it gets better, and this is where you're gonna fucking love this, and you're just gonna love this.
I already love
Is
it, so I
that-
can't wait.
So when he was released, our friend Art Bell on Coast to Coast AM got a hold of him.
Hey, he comes back again to the pod. Art
He's
Bell.
back. Art Bell, Coast to Coast AM, got a hold of him and then had him on a guest on the AM talk show, which, for those who don't know, is like an alien, supernatural, conspiracy-based AM broadcast that I don't know if it's still going on, but it was decades of
It
this.
isn't going on anymore, but people are still carrying the torch for that radio
and
show.
he shows up on Ancient Aliens all the time.
Yeah.
And then he told the story of the screw that he threw through the fucking Jacob's ladder and his plans to build a time machine, but he promised to do it legally this time. So
That's nice.
So he told
He needs
Art
to
that-
secure funding, in other words. Donate now.
Exactly. He has no money, no parts. So
No
he gave
deal.
out his phone number
What
and
up?
he received calls forever. And anyways, he got donations, and someone straight up donated 6 transformers. And
Hey, that's pretty great. It's the exact number he stole.
yeah, so for this he needs transformers, copper, metal, plywood, wood, a big fucking giant quartz granite block. I have his original drawing in front of me.
I still don't understand
And-
why quartz is involved at all. Like,
Because quartz is used when I worked in the Dunkin' Donuts company that does their headsets. Quartz is used in electronics quite frequently to.
it's a conductor or something.
I wouldn't say it's a conductor. It's more of like it can hold energy for like a billionth of a millisecond. Like it's used as it's
Energy
definitely
storage.
quite common in electric stuff.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so he needed like 1 million volts to make this work. He figured it out, and then he decided to test on himself. So he
He's dead.
so no, it gets
He's no
better.
longer with
So-
us. He's in the past now.
So he went on the show again, and then he's got a more sophisticated one that he used some technology that he claims he got from the Navy's Philadelphia experiment.
Hey man, he used it on himself.
Hang on. He just needed more energy, and
Okay.
he needed an electromagnetic vortex that was large enough for a man to enter.
Gotcha.
So this interview ended with him claiming to be about to generate the desired amount of voltage to run through the machine. And
This
when
is
he asked
fantastic.
what he would take with him if he ever managed to time travel, he said he would just bring his cell phone in 1995.
Nice. And that'll make it through the voltage, whatever he's going through here. I feel like if you threw the cell phone through like the screw, it would be pretty much fried. But luckily for him, it'll go through with him.
So that's the last anyone ever heard of him. And so
Oh,
he disappeared. That was it. He's disappeared. No one can find the guy. But
Wow.
shortly after, he said he's just about done. He's going to bring his cell phone with him.
Mm-hmm.
And shortly,
If you listen closely, you can still hear the
yeah. So
Nokia
yeah, I
ringtone.
wish they had his phone number because we could try to give him a call. So shortly after he disappeared, a listener called the Art Bell Show to talk about a strange story that he found from the 1930s. In the 1930s, police found a dead man on a California beach, and he was crushed to death in a strange metal tube, and the man was completely unrecognizable. And what looks to be a cell phone, and at the time was just a mysterious device, was found near his body. And it's impossible to determine, but was this him? Did he just all of a sudden actually go back?
He teleported into a metal tube by accident. Oh, well, Christ.
The machine might have had that, they're talking about he's making a new version of it. And he ended up actually teleporting back and dead, like literally just, I'm going to go teleport. And then just comes out the other side, just a mangled body. And that's the story about him. And no one's got any answers on Madman Markham, but he sounds like one of the only guys to be able to teleport through time. He didn't survive the journey, but
it's not an easy journey. Someone's got to be first, someone's got to be the brave soul to try it out first.
Yeah. Cheers to Madman Markham.
Cheers, Madman. And cheers to you for avoiding all the people you owe a bunch of money by faking your own death.
You know what? He did it. He's like that guy who died a couple of years ago who decided to build a rocket in his backyard and go to space to prove that the Earth is flat, and he died. Yeah,
there's a lot of unsung heroes there.
Yeah, probably his name also might have been Mad Mike. I don't remember, but
yeah, I think it was something like that. Yeah, Mad Mike and Madman Markham and Mad Jim Kramer and everybody else.
Yeah. So that's one story. Do you have any stories?
I like the listener who called in after the guy's missing. Go, oh, by the way, I found the story about it was him. Yeah, it was always there. It would have been great to hear that story before he went, which tailors into our paradoxes that we're going to talk about there. No, I don't have any stories of it actually happening because it has never happened.
Okay, so I got one that happened. So
please,
besides what Mad Markham showing up on a beach,
I'll keep you commenting. I'll bounce right off you there, everybody. There you go.
So Mad Mike Markham mentioned that he used technology the Navy used in the Philadelphia experiment.
Oh yeah, have we brought this up in the pocket? We must have.
We did. We brought this up on
this giant crock of horse shit, the Philadelphia experiment. Yeah.
Giant crock.
I love this story.
Giant crock of you should be.
I can hear you like going into it once or twice and getting interested in it, but as soon as you look into it between 5 minutes, you're like, what a piece of shit, stupid lie. It's the most easily disprovable thing on the planet. And they disappeared a warship and then it reappeared and everyone was the zombies. Oh no, they're in the ship sideways. None of it happened at all. But please.
So what it was in 1943, they decided to take a Navy ship, and what supposedly they were doing was they were trying to degauss the ship. So
demagnetize it.
What?
Isn't Gauss like a magnetic, like a rail gun, like a magnetically driven cannon? So degaussing it would be like to demagnetize it or something.
That's exactly what it is. So
so what I said, got
it.
The
Nazis had torpedoes that were magnetic, and they also obviously had mines that were magnetic.
Sure.
So if you make a ship essentially repel torpedoes.
Sure. Yeah.
Or just
it's like a heat-seeking missile, and you hide your heat signature.
Yeah, that's what they said they were doing. So they wrapped the ship in like this super thick gauge of wire and put a ton of voltage through it to create a magnetic field around the ship.
Okay, yeah.
But that was the story. And then but they when they first did the testing, the ship disappeared for a few seconds, then reappeared.
Yeah. Weird. So the stories say.
Yeah.
None of the sailors said that because obviously they're not with us anymore.
Yeah, well, because they died during the experiment.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they died when they were sitting on a fully iron ship that they put voltage into right with wires. I think they fried them all to death. They go, that's embarrassing. We basically electric chaired an entire naval vessel. That's fucking embarrassing. Let's do the story where it teleported for 3 seconds and then went to the nether regions where Cthulhu lives and shit like that.
So it teleported. What it did is it was in Philadelphia, and then it teleported on like the second or third attempt. It teleported with the men on it to Norfolk, Virginia. So it went from Philly to Norfolk, and then it appeared, and some of the sailors were just violently ill. Others had their minds mangled beyond repair, and other ones were completely integrated into the ship's hull. So
yeah, like like when you beam me up like from Star Trek, but then the atoms got
heads on backwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Only they appeared inside of other matter that isn't them, because you get all mixed up in the
Yeah,
process.
you got to be lucky to be the guy who's just puking when your friend has become one with the steam engine.
Yes, exactly.
What a bunch of
So
bullshit.
there's that one. There is, I'm not going to go
Bullshit.
into too much detail due to time.
Bullshit.
There's a lot of photos when people go back and look at pictures from the 40s and under of
Hey man, the photo is Rufus of the pudding.
a guy at the beach using his cell phone.
Bullshit.
He just looks like he's texting in the
He
middle of-
looks like he's texting. This is what I want to get into with these pictures. I've seen a couple of these pictures too. They have the photo of the guy in like the 1910s who he's holding something up to his ear and he's turning and he's acting like what we would do today with a cell phone. And then people, like we talk about the podcast all the time, they jump from it looks like that to that's what it is. There's a guy on the beach who's texting. He's texting. Can you see the phone? You see the app? You see his no. But he's texting. There's a guy in the streets of Manhattan with a cell phone up to his ear. He's calling somebody on a cell phone. It's like he's not holding something up his ear. Well, yeah, he is, which means it's a cell phone. It's jumping to conclusions based on what you want to know. It looks like something we know now. If you saw it today, you'd say the guy's on a cell phone. It makes sense. The guy could just be holding a hamburger up to his ear, but you'd say it's a cell phone because it makes more sense. In 1910, the guy's holding something up to his ear. It makes more sense that it's not a cell phone, actually. But we like to say, look at that. Looks like what we know. Must be that. Can't be anything else.
You're right. So the interesting thing about the cell phone ones, all the ones where on all these photos where they look like they're texting are almost exclusively someone rolling a fucking
Cigarette.
OG cig.
Yeah. Just looking down,
Yep.
moving their fingers around.
Yeah, it's like the same hold too, because you're using your thumbs.
Yeah. Hands up and then thumbs going forward. Yeah.
Yep. And there is another one from the 40s of a guy who's wearing like steampunk looking glasses. He's got a t-shirt on that looks like everyone else is dressed in fucking suits and 40s clothes. And he's got like this t-shirt on and these glasses, and he
T-shirt
also
guy.
has what looks like a and then not a cell phone. He has like a modern day digital camera.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That
know
one-
how modern digital cameras are.
Yeah, well, exactly. But that one was
I love that too. Like I'm going back to the past. I'm taking technology from 1999 with me
Yeah, well, exactly.
because we don't
That
have
was-
time
that one
travel
was dis-
now.
That one was disproved. And
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Do you know what the answer was?
What's that?
He was Canadian.
Bullshit.
No, for real.
Classic.
This is in Toronto, and his T-shirt was a like baseball logo. It was clearly a logo of a Toronto baseball team,
Mhm.
and at the time, and that was the logo. And the steampunk glasses were actually a thing back then. They had those like they're round, but they have like a welders type of back then.
Sure.
Welders would wear
It's a
those.
style.
like, they
He's
fall
obviously
out.
a cool guy. There's no denying that.
Oh, it's cool as fuck. And then his camera was actually a camera, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And it was something like Fujifilm or some Japanese camera that was here that they were able to get the make and model, and it was actually from the 40s. This guy was just cool.
He's just cool. He's just ahead of the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, he was just cool. He's Canadian and cool. That's really all the story was behind that one.
Well, I love that. I want to meet that guy. Be like,
Yeah,
do you know
we'll
that
pull
you're
pi-
so
we'll pull
cool
pictures
that
up
people
of all
don't
these things,
believe you're
'cause-
from the time you lived in? That's how fucking cool you are.
Yeah, he's a
People
time
don't
traveler.
believe you even live in the time you live in.
Yeah, exactly. So
Ahead of the game.
two more, which actually can be tied into one, is Amelia Earhart disappeared July 2nd, 1937. Never found.
Smells of the Bermuda Triangle style.
It does. That's exactly it. So again, never found. They did find some bones that there were somewhat recently they're trying to work on some rando island. But the Bermuda Triangle, it's the same thing. So she didn't go missing over there. She went missing in the Pacific.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that Bermuda Triangle stuff doesn't happen in the old Marshall Island Triangle.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. We got all kinds of different
a lot
triangles.
of triangles all over the place. The Pacific Ocean from around Hawaii south of there and all that shit is nuts and very large. There are a lot of triangles you can make. So
Pacific Ocean is fucking huge.
fucking huge. And
There's a reason why you're looking at the maps you look at. The Pacific Ocean is the other part you don't see, basically. They
Yeah.
show you the Atlantic and then the edges of
The
each
Pacific,
hemisphere.
yeah.
But if you could spin it around like a globe, look at the back of the globe, you can look at the globe and almost not see land if you spin it a certain way because the Pacific Ocean is so fucking huge.
Yeah, it's wild. So in the Bermuda Triangle, there's one story of a dude who's flying like a Beechcraft Bonanza, and all of a sudden it's really randomly stormy. And then
Look
he
back to
flies
the
through this
DJBP episode of
fog.
Bermuda
We
Triangle.
talked about this.
Yeah, we did.
Um,
Episode
and,
something. Look back, folks.
Yep, and you can reference that, but simply he just flew through some fog, and then it was like electric-y in there, and it was electric fog, and he ended up landing like 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 hours after he took off, when it
That's
should have
some
only been a
sci-fi
30-minute
magic.
flight, but it was still 30 minutes to him. So they think
Relativity.
that all these Bermuda Triangle stories have this electric fog that happens, and time gets warped. It's a time traveling vortex.
Let's do the
And-
time warp again.
Yeah, exactly. So you can go back in time. It might only be a couple hours. It might be all of a sudden that Flight 19 is now in the Stone Age still. I mean, they'd be dead by now, but they just landed their Avenger aircrafts in the dinosaur lands, and they're like, "What the fuck?" You know,
Mhm.
who knows? We've all seen Land of the Lost. So,
Yeah.
yeah, those are some real life accounts of time travel, especially Mad Mike Markham. You guys proved that one wrong. I'd like to see your better answers than it's actually happened. Why wouldn't he be the guy on the beach? Just makes sense.
I love that shit. I love that shit. Wild accusations and prove me wrong. I love that. Like, prove yourself right, dickhead. I
me
love that
wrong.
shit. Hey, the whole entire world's actually made out of marshmallows. No, it's not. Well, yeah, we'll prove it isn't. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Now I have to do the work just because you're a fucking asshole, and now everyone else has to prove you wrong. You're not gonna listen to me anyway, so what the fuck am I proving you wrong for? That's the whole idea between the flying spaghetti monster or the teacup theory, where there's a teacup that's orbiting the sun exactly the same rate that the Earth is. You just can't see it. Prove it isn't. So it is. So there's a teacup.
Yeah,
Done. It's over.
probably.
There is. No, there is. I told you there is. You can't prove me wrong. So
There could
is
be
one.
another Earth on the other side of all the shit, so
Yep.
we never see it. Is
Yep.
that the teacup theory? Yeah. So yeah,
Yep. Same idea.
prove it.
It's like, yeah, I get it could be, but many things could be. It's on the onus of the person who makes the theory or the accusation to prove themselves right, not have the whole world prove you wrong, you fucking heathen. It's so ridiculous. I hate that shit.
Try
Oh,
to-
you can't prove me wrong, so therefore I'm right. No.
Well, so
prove
then
yourself
what happened
right.
to Mad Mike Markham? Can you tell me?
I can't, but I can tell you that there's no examples of it ever happening. And
Except for that,
I would like to research from dental records of people who died at that time and see what the fuck happened to Mad Mike Markham, because the guy, he was alive. He owed a lot of people a lot of money, and he found out his experiment didn't work, and he goes, I'm probably not going to come on Coast to Coast anymore because I owe people a shit ton of money and I'm not paying them because I didn't make any money.
Yeah, all that happened was he ran through his thing, got his balls electrocuted, and went, "Fuck."
Yeah, he went like Uncle Rico. He's like, God damn it.
God damn it. Yeah, that's the story. that's
I
where
mean, yeah,
it goes.
maybe he did, but we can't prove it. It's true.
Yeah.
Who knows what happened to him?
Yeah,
Not me.
or he's in the year 750 AD, just polygamy.
Yeah, he's stuck.
polygamist.
He's
just
stuck there. He can
he's
never
just now a
return.
polygamist with 25 virgins, wives, and a big turkey leg.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, that's obviously what he hoped for, but I suspect that he's probably in Ecuador buying bananas for cents on the dollar with all the money he took.
Nope, he's in an unmarked grave in California. Nice guess, though.
He died as John Doe and he lived as Mad Mike.
John Doe with these mysterious plastic giant phone in a tube, or a hot dog.
Yep. It's all tubes. It'll be at least twice as large.
Yeah. If you take the universe and you put it into a tube.
It would be at least twice as large. So you take a fast Speedolite ride and it'd be really, 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 really fun.
Really, 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 really fun.
We're talking about Speedolite travel, ride on light beam, relativity. All right, folks, let's take our commercial break here, and then we'll get into the ramifications of time travel and time travel paradoxes. And maybe we'll talk about a couple of things Uncle Rico style. So what do you think, Jojo?
Yeah, I'm thinking that sounds good.
Come back to the Dylan and Joe Basement Podcast.
All right, we're back. We're back. Take it away, Joe. Thank you to Stephen Hawking and DJ BP.
Thank you. We appreciate the intro. We're back in the Dylan Joe Basin podcast in our next segment here. I thought we would talk about the paradoxes of time travel, and that's the theories that come up in all kinds of pop culture shit, scientific explanation, all kinds of weird ass stuff. And it's why hasn't it happened yet? How could it happen? Weird stuff like that. More on theories. Starting off with the butterfly effect.
Wow, what a time.
The idea of the butterfly effect, as far as I know it, is, a Tyrannosaurus Rex stepping on a butterfly and, 60 million years ago translates to, you no longer have a catalytic converter in your car. Like the smallest effect that happens in the past could ripple in time and change the future. So if you did go back to the past and you change anything, even slightly, exponentially over time, those ripples affect the reality that it is now. So if you went to the past, you could never just fix one thing. Everything you did would affect the future greater and greater the long time that you do it. I always think the butterfly effect has something to do with a symmetry, but really has to do with just stepping on one. It could be called the fly swatter effect or the sneeze effect. It's just that the longer period of time after you do something, the effects ripple out throughout history. So if you did time travel to the past, could you even come back to the world that you were from beforehand, or would you just change it inexorably from what you first came to?
So a really good example of this is actually the Titanic. Real life example.
All right.
Is Jack Dawson, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. The movie by James Cameron is actually a time traveler story. Did you know
Really?
this? Yeah.
Not only did I not know that, I didn't even know that the character's last name was Dawson until right now.
It's Jack Dawson. Yep. So there was no previous record of Jack Dawson on the ship in the movie, they say. And he's very, he offers, the first thing he does. So again, he doesn't really exist in the movie because there's no record of him. And then he offers to take Rose on a roller coaster at the Santa Monica Pier, which wasn't built till 1916, and the Titanic sank in 1914. Can you fucking believe this? Yep. Can you believe that? And then his rucksack in the movie is from 1939.
What the fuck?
And it gets better in the movie. So that's two things. He claims to have lived his childhood next to a man-made lake in Wisconsin that wouldn't be built for another 3 years.
Oh my God.
So bullshit.
Did Jack just being around doom the Titanic by saving Rose from jumping off the bow? Her interactions with Captain Smith and Ismay may have caused an increase in the staff's ego, causing them to drive the boat harder, causing the collision.
So when he traveled back to the past in order to experience the Titanic, he actually inadvertently caused the sinking of the Titanic.
Because he saved Rose from killing herself. And then she talked to the captains and got their egos all hard up. And then they drove the boats like they're going for a cruise, going too fast, trying to be cool.
Full steam ahead.
Crashed the Titanic because of a time traveler.
Hey, who might say it's otherwise? But that actually ties in more to what I was thinking of the time travel paradox, because Essentially, Jack went back to the past to be on the Titanic so that he could experience what the Titanic was like before it sank. The Titanic would have been a famous ship if it didn't sink.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, you're totally right. Because I was thinking like maybe, Jack, pissed off the bow, which changed the water temperature for a second, killed a fish. That's the butterfly effect,
yeah.
And then, whatever. But yeah, okay. So now you're going to, which, if you time travel, you're going to get the butterfly effect no matter what you do. You step on an
Sure.
egg,
Yeah.
whatever.
Anything you do is going to affect it differently because when it happened initially, it didn't happen that way. So the very fact that you're there, even breathing the air, is changing the way the world is.
Yep.
Which is why the butterfly effect is named that way. It's just a small thing, just a little butterfly being crushed could change everything, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that's the more interesting one is the time traveler paradox, which is the idea that can you even travel to the past because wouldn't it not be the past anymore? Or are we understanding the past as it was because it already happened that way? For example, this is a classic example. If you went to the past and you killed your grandfather, what would happen? How could you have killed your own grandfather? Because if your grandfather was killed in the past, you wouldn't be born. So how could you have gone back to the past to kill your grandfather unless you were in fact born and then had the ability to go back to the past? So either that person wasn't your grandfather, or now the time that you're going back to exists without your grandfather, then how would you exist? Doesn't make any sense. That's the paradox of time travel. If you could go back and change things in the past, then the future couldn't have happened. Or is there some version that the universe balances itself out? So you went to the past, tried to kill your grandfather, came back, and you're still alive, meaning that that person couldn't have been your grandfather. You just thought they were. Because the very fact that you went back to the past means that you must not have done it.
I like that one because it means that you went back to the past to kill your grandfather, and then you didn't die, which means that he's not the father of your mother or father. Mm-hmm. And there's a bigger problem now that you need to tell them when you get back to the future. That mom was cheating on dad, or grandma was cheating on grandpa, and I just went back and killed a guy who is not that guy, and
a whole other bag of worms there.
And I've got a real secret cell.
But that's the interesting thing there, where it splits off. Either there is the theory that like there's multiple timelines, and every decision you make is splitting off into multiple timelines and universes, which may be the case. Maybe you could go back and kill your grandfather and still exist because on this timeline you do exist and you travel back to the past, and on his timeline it doesn't. But I think it's because we don't know about any multiple timelines that it's more likely that the very fact that you could do that means that it didn't happen that way. It's kind of the thing of like you go back to try to stop Hitler and you end up causing the Holocaust and shit like that, where like the very fact that you try to stop it means that you were the inciting incident of it happening. It must happen because of the fact that you know it happened. You can't have stopped it because the fact that you know it happened means it happened. And if you didn't know it happened, you wouldn't know to go back to stop it. And it would have already been stopped by you. Because if time travel is possible, there's never been a moment where you can pause it and go, hey, this is the part where I go back and change it. We exist in time at all times. You can't just pause it. So the very fact that it didn't happen means that it couldn't happen. And that's what brings up to me the fact that time travel to the past might be impossible. Please go ahead. I'm talking too much.
No, you're not at all. No, you're making no sense, but you're making sense, which means you're making sense.
I'm talking a lot.
So, no, it means that you're on the right topic. So it's simplified by what is and always is. So
can't change what is.
Yeah, because it always
you only change what will be.
Right. In that what is now and what people think is now, but the present is already the past because it's already been, so what I get confused about is like we might not be interacting with time travelers at the moment because the time machine isn't invented yet. There literally might be a time machine invented next year.
No, but this is you bring up the exact point I'm going to bring up is that doesn't matter at all. If there was ever a time machine, then there was always a time machine.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So if we don't see a time traveler come back, that means there's no time machine. Because if anyone ever in the future came back to this day right now, it would happen today. Ever. Because that's the day. So if it happens 5 years from now and someone travels back, if it happens 1,000 years from now and someone travels back, if it happens 10 trillion years from now and someone travels back, it still happens today. And the very fact that there's no time travelers among us that we know about, or no time machines that are arriving here to talk to us about the future, means that either there is some kind of separate timeline or that it can't exist, because if it was ever going to happen, it happens now. It's not like in a movie where you can decide to go back, when you didn't do it before. It always would have happened. If someone came back in 2022, if it's invented in 5 years or 500 years, it still happens the same day. So it wouldn't make any sense that time machines exist in the future and they are waiting to come back now. There's no waiting. If they ever did it, it already happened now. So it didn't happen, which means either they decide not to do it or they can't do it. Because there's no version of yesterday happening again and they show up. It's either they show up or they don't. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Because it only is today. So that if someone decided to go back to yesterday, or they decided to go back to the ancient past of 2022 in May, it happens to us the same in an instant. It always happened.
So
that's the paradox for me, which is why I don't think that time travel can go to the past, because they would have already done it. We would be seeing time travelers all the time. They'd always be here.
I got a real life example of this. And
let's hear it.
It's from our friend.
On June 28, 2009, I gave a party for time travelers, but I didn't send out the invitations until after the party. I sat there a long time, but no one came.
That is fucking... I totally forgot that he did that. Stephen Hawking actually did hold a party for time travelers, and he didn't send the invitation until after it happened.
On June 28, 2009, he had a party for time travelers. He had the party and then sent the invitations after the party, and no one showed up, which he claims to be due to the laws of causality, which is just, I guess, due to the laws of cause and effect.
Yeah, it's like entropy. Like things can keep causes and effects happen, but you can't unring that bell kind of deal. And that's why the only explanation for me is that it would start multiple timelines based on your actions, because maybe there is a timeline where you go back to the past, and then that new timeline you've created is the timeline where you time traveled back, and now the world's a little different. But our world is the world where that never happened.
Yeah, there's several parallel realities at the same exact time, which is quantum physics. And
that's the only way that it works, because if it doesn't, then everyone's there at Stephen Hawking's party being like, no, you're wrong. We can go back to the past, and here we are.
But he's also a wicked party pooper, because one, no offense, but I don't know, it probably wasn't like a crazy party. And then two, who says that they would want to, if you're a time traveler, who says that maybe you just get one shot, no one would go to that party, they'd pick something else. And then
right, but you understand that it doesn't matter if anyone in the history of anything ever wanted to go there, then it happened. It's not just if people heard the invitation, they were like, it's us 20 time travelers, we're not going to go to that, we're going to go to the dinosaur times. It doesn't matter. It's if anyone ever went there in the internal infinity of humans having time machines ever. Not just that time they decided, I'm not going to that party. Party's lame.
But maybe no one wanted to still.
Ever in the infinite future.
In infinite future, no one ever wanted to go to that party. That's how much they didn't want to go to that party.
that's possible. It is. It's that lame of a party. But it just seems odd to me that you wouldn't want to, anyone in the infinite future of forever wouldn't want to go, at least one person to be like, hey, by the way, what an interesting idea. Like, wouldn't you want to go back and see Isaac Newton's apple drop on his head and be like, hey, I'm a scientist. I literally invented time travel. Why would I not want to go to Stephen Hawking's party and be like, hey, buddy, there you go. That's what I'm talking about there.
Because
he's not talking about, Jorge's birthday party on his quinceañera or whatever. We're talking about the guy who was claiming this is impossible. What a better proof than to go back there.
Because you're just proving someone's ego right or wrong. You could go back and see and just.
It's not his I mean, it's not his ego. I mean, I guess it is an
No, you
ego
kinda
to
just-
some
just
degree, but
brushing his ego, saying like, "Okay, cool, you're right. Here I am. I'm right."
No, it would have proved
Exploit
him
me.
wrong.
You could also.
it would have proved him wrong. You
Oh.
understand? Because he
Well-
said he did that, being like, "This is total. I'm proving you that the time travel can't exist because if it did happen, they'd be at this party." So they could prove him wrong by being like, "Hey, you're fucking wrong, asshole. I saw your invitation tomorrow, and I'm here." So
He also didn't
you're
say
wrong.
that. Someone didn't come back, immediately pull a gun on him and say, "I'm here, but I'll blow your fucking head off if you say a word, and I can do it anytime, anywhere, all time. I'll know. There's an infinite amount of people of me saying that I will kill you if you tell us."
I'm in the future, so I'll know if you ever
now
said
you
it.
know, and
It'd be like, "Joke's on you, jackass. I can't talk."
Yeah, but don't be. Yeah, exactly. But don't be talking.
I
kinda like a
can't.
Sopranos move. Like, we know you know now, so
No.
we're gonna know when you know that you told someone. And
Nah, I don't believe that shit
and then
because
we'll go back and make sure you never existed, so you won't even know. But then you won't exist there now. Like, we
right.
do
No,
this.
that's the paradox. I don't believe that you could strong arm someone and not say anything, because it's not just telling one person not to say anything. It's telling infinite realities of people to never ever say anything. It doesn't work like how we think. You're like, "Oh yeah, they threaten everybody, whoever did it, to not tell anybody." It's like, it doesn't matter, because if any existence in the future would have ever slipped up one time, it's immediate because it's time. You'd be right back here again.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible to travel to the past unless it creates infinite timelines, and then you'd never be able to figure it out anyways. But if there was ever time travel to the past, it would have happened already every day. It would have been every single day, all the time. It'd be overwhelming. It'd be millions and trillions of time travelers going back all the time, and it'd be overwhelming. 200 people.
But the reality does seriously just look like Rick and Morty. I mean, they just get in their fucking shit and go travel time. But
Yeah.
it's not.
Well, they
like-
go through the multiverse, which is that branching time theory.
right, but it's not like aggressively overwhelming, and then all of a sudden there's just people on people. It's like,
Yeah,
I
well,
feel like
because
that-
they in Rick and Morty, they never go to the past. They go to an alternate universe where they
Oh,
haven't been.
I was
there
getting
yet.
confused because they go back to alternate universes where
They
it looks
never
like the
time
past,
travel
but it's
Rick and
not the
Morty.
past. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
that would make sense with the time travel paradox. But if there is only one reality, time travel to the past can't exist, because we would know about it even if we didn't want to. It would every single instance that could ever be would have already happened, because it would already be like a giant string of everything. To us, it's hard to understand because like we just live in now, but it's the same. Tomorrow is the same as yesterday. If you can time travel, it happened already. It already happened. That's it.
Okay. All right. Where to next?
I think we
Time
should get into.
travelers say.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. I think we should get
Or
into
when
the
to next.
we're getting at when to next. I think we should get into the pop culture versions of it, because
Oh
that'll
yeah, fun.
that'll maybe us we'll be able to parse that out more, because the time travel in reality, it's I don't even know what to say about it. It's just so insane. But in movies and TV shows and shit, they have rules that work in the time travel that they made up, so you can follow those rules, and then it makes more sense based on their world.
Let's do it. So we obviously covered Uncle Rico in the Modulus as a famous time traveler. He is on the list. I'd say next is going to be our boys Marty McFly and the crew. What do you think?
Gotta be. Back to the Future
Back
with
to
Marty
the-
McFly and Doc Brown. If you can travel at 88 miles an hour and have enough gigawatts to let the flux capacitor fire up in that DeLorean that should have won best car of all time.
Yeah, I saw one. Yes, I saw one like this weekend. By the way, that was very thought of you.
No shit. Was Marty on there?
I don't know, but I've seen like 3 in my actual life, and this one was silver. And then the one I saw a couple years ago was red. Someone painted it red, and it was fucking wicked cool.
That's cool. I've never seen one that's not silver, but I mean, there's no stopping you from painting it up, right?
No, yeah, because they're stainless steel, so you don't need to paint it. But like, it doesn't rust. But red looked really good on it.
I bet it
So-
was. That was really
Anyways,
cool.
so yeah, you said that yes, they need a gigawatt, which is like a billion watts.
Yeah, it actually would be gigawatts, but you know how actors and script writers don't
Right.
know science, so they call it a gigawatt, but it would be a gigawatt, like a gigabyte.
Yeah. Yep.
So what is it? Is it a
Million?
1,000 watts or is it a million watts?
I think it's a million. So the power required to pronounce in the film 1.21 gigawatts
lot.
is referring to 1 billion watts. And just for
billion?
reference, your watts, because like your wall is 120 volts and I think 3 something amps, but watts is, what is a watt?
I don't know.
It's like
physics
voltage
hard.
is the speed, amperage is the oomph behind the speed. It's like horsepower is voltage, torque is amps, and then watts is what you light bulbs get.
Is the frequency? Because isn't it power, frequency, and one other thing? I don't know.
Well, the frequency has something to do with the current, like the current is is like,
because I know amps, watts, and volts are the 3 measurements of electricity, right?
yeah, and watt, the only thing you see a watt on is a light bulb.
Right, but it definitely it's not like a different measurement. It's not like inches versus centimeters. It's like
No.
another way to measure it.
Yeah, but it doesn't have anything to do with voltage or amps. A watt would be
Wattage.
wattage. I don't know. I'm not sure, but anyways,
Above our
yeah,
pay
so
grade.
go on. Yeah, we're getting into
Either way, so yeah, and Back to the Future, yeah, Doc Brown comes up with this device so you can travel to any time. You just turn the dial and then you go fast enough, it zap, boom, there you are. And in the original film, they go to the past and they actually solve the time travel paradox by it actually changes the future. So when they come back to the future, as the movie says, it has changed. So it's not the grandfather paradox of if you ever existed, then you wouldn't. There's actually a part where Marty's mom, right, his grandma is falling in love with him or whatever. No, his mom is. And then he starts to fade away in a photograph because it's about to have him not be born anymore if she doesn't fall in love with George McFly and falls in love with him instead. So they have it as it's just one timeline and it's always fluid. You can change it at any given time. So there's parts of Back to the Future where Marty is in danger of not existing anymore by the very fact that he's there. So it's like it's always constantly changing. It hasn't happened. And Back to the Future, the timeline can change at any time depending on what you do. And you still know it, but you can still disappear. You can literally fade out of existence if you decide to mac on your own mom. Besides letting your lame-o nerd dad get into it and punch out Biff Tannen.
Yeah. And to add a little bit of value to this is that this
Please.
movie, they put so much effort into not just the storyline, but just making this all make sense. I mean, so the
Good script writing.
The DeLorean, no, down to like technical details, the DeLorean time machine, has equipment, flux capacitor,
Yep.
time circuits, which is the stuff on the dashboard and the red. The
And they need plutonium as a power source.
You need plutonium to power the flux capacitor. Then you have Mr. Fusion, which is a home energy reactor. And then you have, they have a vents attached to design. The big things in the back are they're not jets. They're vents designed to cool the nuclear reactor that the flux capacitor uses to generate the 1.2 gigawatts of electricity.
Right.
The plutonium chamber, the Roentgen meter, which we know from the show Röntgens from Chernobyl, the wormhole emitter, time circuit lever,
so you need a wormhole
circuits,
for that one too.
boiler, temperature gauge, remote control, the fucking barcode license plate. Like they did so much into this to make this all be like, that kind of looks like that's probably, honest to God, what a time machine would be made of.
Except doesn't need rubber tires, because why the fuck would you need rubber tires to do that?
Well, just like Einstein said, if you were able to put a wormhole on top of a spaceship, you'd have to get it fast enough. You'd have to go fast enough in space and time to even be able to use the wormhole. But you could, if you had a stable one, you could attach it to something. So they had to drive 88 miles an hour to be able to go through the thing. So that's why you have tires.
Yeah. Just to quickly dive back to what's it called? Star Trek, which also has a time travel element to it. In Star Trek, the warp drive works different than in Star Wars. In Star Wars, they have a hyperdrive, which makes the ship go as fast as the speed of light between points, like bam, bam, bam. So in Star Wars, the ship is going super fast. It's propelling the ship through space. In Star Trek, it's propelling space past the ship. So a warp drive in Star Trek is actually bringing space towards you. So you're not moving.
I didn't know that. That's so cool.
Yeah. So that what scientists or theoretical physicists say, that would be more accurate to what you could do to create a warp drive, is to say bringing the space towards you and you're stable, rather than you propelling yourself through space, because that way it would take less time. If you could drag space-time towards yourself, you're in one position, it would be the same as traveling, but you wouldn't have to expend the energy and the time to get there. You're dragging space-time at you rather than heading through it.
Interesting.
Which they're both impossible right now, but theoretically they could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
Back to the Future is the gold standard, though, for time travel. You gotta bring it up.
That is a fact.
And coming in second place, I gotta say another amazing film that has time travel is got to be Terminator, the Terminator series.
It wasn't on my list, but great mention.
Heavily time travel. This one is a lot more fast and loose. They're much more into the robotic uprising and shit part of sci-fi than the time travel, but the entire thing is based on a war that happens in the future. It's already a foregone conclusion they're all going to die. And in that kind of time travel, you could go back to change the future. And so they send back a robot to kill the person who's going to lead the revolution against the robots to save them. And that robot its idea is to kill the guy. So they don't actually explain how time travel works in that one, besides this really cool lightning effect where they just go pull the lever, boom, you're back there. But they get into a lot of the whole butterfly effect-y kind of deal. Like if you could change this, what would happen in the future to actually change the timeline? Because if there's an unwinnable war, it's the classic, what if you could go back and kill Hitler when he's a baby? What would that do for World War II?
Yeah, exactly. And on that note,
I'll be back.
My movie, we already covered, obviously, Napoleon Dynamite and The Time Machine, arguably the number one. 2002, The Time Machine should have been number one instead of Back to the Future. But is a movie called The Final Countdown, and is one of my favorite fucking movies ever. And I think it's before that song came out. And it's like 1981, I think, is when the Final Countdown came out. Yeah. And it's about the USS Nimitz as a carrier, and it's just all is good. And then like the sky's getting real dark and crazy and full of electricity. And then all of a sudden they just go through this crazy storm. People are just getting nauseous and whatever. And then all of a sudden it's just like a bright sunny day in the Pacific Ocean. And the movie takes place in December 6th, 1941. So
A Day That Live in Infamy.
Oh, it's the day before The Day That Lives in Infamy. So,
yes.
So they're out of there, and they're like, all right, well, they sent out two F-14 Tomcats, live, great footage, real footage of these jets going out to look what's going on. And having
kind of jet fighter technology at the time.
Well, so this is what happened. So is that they were in the 80s, and then the movie goes back to December 6th, and they send out two F-14s, and they're around Hawaii anyways, and they fly around, and they're like reporting back. They're like, the Pacific Fleet from World War II is there. We're kind of confused.
The Arizona is looking pretty good right about now.
The Arizona's there, the whatever. So they're sending back, and they're like, what are you talking about? Like, what the fuck? And then they're flying. Then they come across two Scout Mitsubishi Zeros, the planes that dropped all the torpedoes on all that time. And they're there, and they're like, what do we do? Like, they're starting to piece together, like, this is actually happening. And they're scouts, and they see them there, and they're two F-14s, and they're like, shoot them down. And then you have two F-14s swoop down like in this awesome pattern right behind the Zeros. And then the Japanese guys are like, what in the fuck? Because you've got the most, at 1981, the most advanced airplane of the day.
It's gonna be like aliens getting you.
Yeah, with two, so then they shoot him fucking down, and then they land back at the carrier, and then it just same thing turns into a butterfly effect movie where the timeline of Pearl Harbor is perfect to this because they can make a difference, but they decide not to.
Yeah.
Because, but there is one weird incident before Pearl Harbor happened of like a governor or statesman of some sort dies in a kind of a weird boating accident before Pearl Harbor happens, and they showed that, and it was the USS Nimitz time traveler's fault. That's what they said. They're like, we don't really know what happened, and they're like, it shows like them doing something like shooting down a Zero, and they fucked up something, so that's what happened. But there's an actual true story they tied to this that's unexplained, saying this is what happened. It's a great fucking movie.
I never heard that one. I gotta check that one out.
Worth your time. Like it's an excellent movie.
And you're right. The final countdown, the song came out 6 years later, so they definitely aped it.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It really is a good movie. So anyway, so that's my movie.
The next one I brought up earlier, which is that the idea of super gravity being able to slow down time and essentially make you time travel. And that's the movie by Christopher Nolan called Interstellar.
Yes.
And that one is hailed, as of right now, by the science community as the most accurate description of time travel in any movie ever made, because of the fact that if you could survive that, you could pull that off and get that close to a black hole, the amount of gravity acting on you and slowing the time that you're experiencing would actually change your effect. So they, in that movie, tried to orbit a black hole in order to save fuel and make their mission, survivable to get back. But by the time they get back, this man on the mission, his daughter is now an adult woman because of the fact that he's been gone for so long. For them, for him, it's only been, however, a couple of years, but on Earth, it's been 50 years. And his daughter is now an old lady because of the fact that time dilation happens when that gravity is affecting you. You're time traveling through that. So that's not a great way to time travel. It actually sucks and it's very tragic, but it is a way to travel to the future, essentially on Earth without actually being on Earth.
It was crazy and it's tragic. And he's watching his daughter because he's in this like fifth or sixth dimension.
Yeah, that part is fantasy, but the actual
but they said
science
that
works
theoretically that's how it would look. Like he's kind of like seeing different moments that he's got an insight into in this like fifth dimension tube that he's going, no, he's banging against the thing, like, trying to hit the wall. But she's in this dimension, and then there's all this knocking on the wall because she can hear him in another dimension hitting what he's in, but it's the wall of her bedroom, and it's
from the first act.
Wild movie.
Very great movie, amazing soundtrack, great cast.
Yep.
It's a great one. But yeah, Interstellar, great time travel movie, which isn't really a movie about time travel, but it has time travel in it as a major part of the movie.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Tenet is another movie that he made about time travel, a little bit different take on it, but also a very cool one.
Very cool. Yep, very cool. Yeah, that's all I got for my list of time travel movies.
Oh yeah, you didn't think of another one that's not as accurate, but you got to bring it up. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. When they
haven't seen it.
Oh, and they meet Socrates. They're Socrates, as they call them. They go through time. They're just chilling. It's just excellent. They go through all the time. I had to bring it up.
I mean, we had Land of the Lost, I already mentioned, but they go
Land of the Lost,
Love boat tunnel thing, and then they end up back in fucking the land of Lost, which is almost not even time travel because there's dinosaurs, aliens.
Yeah, it's like interdimensional.
Like all sorts of weird shit. Like it's like where everyone goes when they fuck up time travel.
Right. Yeah. Austin Powers has time travel as well, and you can go back to the groovy times in the 60s to try to stop Dr. Evil before he gets his plans, baby.
Yeah.
That's the spiral. Avengers Endgame has time travel. They fuck up so bad that they have to shoehorn time travel into the Marvel movie to make it more sense that they could stop the guy who already killed them. So they have to go back to try to make it never happen. That's another one of those diverging pathways thing where it did still happen, but in this reality, it didn't. Like kind of whatever decision you make, it splits it up. And my last one And the second to last one has to be Slaughterhouse-Five. You remember reading that book in high school?
I definitely didn't read it.
Yeah.
I
didn't read it
book
either.
I've ever read, but it was on like the summer reading list.
Yeah, it's one of those books you had to read, but we didn't actually have to read it.
Yeah, I didn't ever read anything except.
I remember failing a pop quiz where Q was like, he asked because there's aliens in that book, and he's like, "What do they look like?" And I just made up a thing, and he's like, "No," because you immediately know, like you can immediately tell if you read it or not. You're like, "Oh, the aliens look like this." He's like, "You thought you were gonna guess that right?" No, not at all.
Yeah, you can't bullshit that guy. You can bullshit Mrs. Ham, but not him.
Not happening. No, he's
like I remember when we came back, and I one of the first things I did, I'm like, I read her like a fucking book in 2 seconds, and I knew that I didn't read this book. But if she asked, like, okay, if she asked something about the book, be the first person to raise your hand and bullshit it.
Just say whatever you
would
think.
Do that if they didn't read the book.
Right, exactly. But you could do that to Q, and he'd be like, "I get what you're doing here. You're trying to be the first one to take." Like he's already on to you.
He'd be like, he'd have a complete read on you. He'd be like,
"Yeah,
yeah,
sure,
yeah, exactly." So funny.
So the aliens in that book, well, I thought it had an interesting concept. They experience time as a circle, so they don't think about the past and the future existing outside of them. They know all of time as a circle, so they kind of describe humans as being handicapped. They're like, "Oh, you poor souls, you're experiencing the world on a conveyor belt with binoculars on. You can only head in one direction, and you can only see a small fraction of it. We can see the whole thing. We can see the beginning, the end, and the whole thing. It's one circle. Any part of it is the same as any other part. The beginning is the end is the beginning. It's all one thing." Which, if people can experience time that way, or beings, that seems like an interesting idea to me. I mean,
yeah,
that would make more sense to time travel too, where you can travel at any given point in a circle, but you can't change it. You just are experiencing different moments of it.
Yeah, it's like it's like your entertainment, basically.
Yeah, like you already know what's going to happen and what has happened, but to you, it's not what has happened. It's what is. The future is, now is, and the past is. It's always happening to you at once. And my dark horse, no one ever thinks about this as a time travel movie, Planet of the Apes. It's a time travel movie. It's billed as a space sci-fi where an astronaut gets stuck in a storm in outer space and ends up on a planet ruled by apes, where the apes are in charge and the humans aren't, only to find out it's not a future planet. It is a future planet. It's not a foreign planet. It's the planet Earth in the future, where the apes have risen to take over. Planet of the Apes. Great time travel movie. Wow. Only, again, in the future, not to the past.
Accurate.
That's all I got for time travel. Obviously, there's a million other ones, but those are the main ones I wanted to hit.
Yeah. Good list. Just solid between the two of us. Solid list.
Solid, rock solid.
Are we doing some thoughts on this? Are we at final thoughts? Where are we at?
Yeah, I think before final thoughts, if you don't mind, we should answer one. If you could go to one place in the past and to the future, where do you want to go? We have a DeLorean. You get 2.2 gigawatts, so you get 2 jumps, and then you can go back if you want. But you get to go to one point in the past and one point in the future and decide what you would like to do for that. You can go back afterwards, right? But you can't do multiple takes. You can't go to the year 1950 and then the year 1930. You can either go to one of them, and then you can go one to the future before you return. What would you pick to where you would go in the past and where you would go in the future if you could pick your own time travel experience? You got the crystals, you got the pogo stick tightly wrapped around your balls, and you got the voltage going through, and Uncle Rico is ready to turn the switch. Where are you going?
How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountains?
Wow. Besides seeing loved ones, because I feel like that's kind of like a unfair question. I mean,
yeah, I think we should put it beyond.
It's weird.
Yeah,
you know?
sorry. Yeah, so you'd have to go. I think you'd have to go outside of.
I'm going outside of that box.
Outside of that box, because obviously that's a great choice. That's easy. Yeah. Besides that,
there's just so many options.
There really is. Nearly infinite, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like,
I haven't thought about this.
I
Just so
haven't
you know,
thought now.
I'm throwing you
If
into it, the lion's den, but so am I. I haven't thought about it either.
Yeah, like if say you go back, 40,000 years to really figure out the start of humans,
Yeah.
what's the food like? What's the sleeping situation?
Absolute
what's the
shit, I'd imagine.
socialization situation.
Yeah.
It's gonna probably be pretty boring pretty quickly. Besides,
I mean, I find that if I couldn't go anytime where I couldn't communicate with people, I'm not going.
Yeah, that's what
I mean, it'd be cool to see dinosaurs, but not as cool as talking to people about what the fuck's going on. Like, I wouldn't want to exist in any time where people didn't exist. Like, I'll just go hiking. Like, I don't need to, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not worth seeing it for me. I'm not a paleontologist. I don't need to see a Tyrannosaurus Rex alive. I'd rather see people at a different time.
Yeah. I can't wait to go back to 65 million years ago with the fucking shit scared out of me with nowhere to hide. That'll be cool.
Or you go back 3 billion years and you can see Earth before there's any water and be like, whoa.
Yeah. Wow.
That's fucked up. It's a giant rock full of fire. This is great. Watch out. Here come the meteors.
So you gotta, I mean, I just think anything in the past century or 2 centuries is too similar to current day.
Okay.
I want something fucking wild,
All right.
like something way different. And I think, not speaking the language is going to be a barrier, because when was English invented?
Well, that's one of your famous inventing phrases, which it isn't. There's no languages aren't invented. They accumulate over time and they kind of pop up and they assimilate. English has been around. Well, it's based off of Latin and whatever tribes lived around Northern Europe at the time. I don't know. Let's say 3,000 years, 2,000 years ago, when the first Breton tribes.
So I could
up.
go to Rome and theoretically someone could fucking understand me.
Nope, they'd be speaking Latin at the time.
Damn it!
But you took Latin, didn't you?
Yeah, but I'd get around. I think.
Oh, you'd get around. You'd be the tallest guy there.
Dude, I definitely would get around. You kidding me? That's the whole point of going back to Rome and Greece during 2000.
Why else would you go back if you couldn't get around? As the Beach Boys
party
would say.
Full of wine and sex. Sounds fucking great. Back in the days when there's no phones back then. It's like real organic parties. Full of stone.
Yeah, no preservatives.
Stone and
organic
and bread and just that'd be fucking fun, dude. Like, and then you get to spend some time there, so mingle with the ladies, talk to some dudes, talk to dudes of original thought, talk to painters, like artists, real warriors, go be one, go fucking fight with swords. Like,
I wouldn't be one. Are you fucking kidding me? Leave me out of that.
Yeah,
that's
I wouldn't.
Terrifying. Why don't you go get in a knife fight in an alley this week? It'll be more comfortable than going to war with iron swords. Jesus Christ.
No, the training would be interesting though, but like,
sure.
But just some real right to the roots shit, going right back to Rome, because again, Rome.
That's a great answer.
Social, super social. Everyone's social as fuck. People are up to no good in a good way. They have alcohol. They've got drugs that, as far as we know, based off of what the new theories are. The ladies are fine as hell. The dudes are fine as hell in like the fun way. Like, they're cool, or they fucking suck. Like, everyone's shitty and cool. It's similar to now, but it's so different.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be pretty cool. Besides just going to check out the 60s and 70s, or maybe 40s, 30s, 20s, whatever. But but I feel like, there's just going right back to the original, barely any technology, but a ton of technology for then.
Right.
I feel like it's more similar than with their thoughts and ideas now than it was even through like half the fucking Renaissance, because they're just depressing, They weren't depressed in Rome until shit hit the fan,
Yeah, well, the people who had money weren't, for sure. They were loving.
I'd hang out with them. Yeah, no, I'm going to them.
Yeah.
I don't think I made that clear. I'm not going to go be poor in Rome.
No one wants that.
2000. In like 180.
The year 100 or whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to fucking party. So going where the wine fucking jug.
Yeah, that goes without saying. If you go into the past, you want to be rich too. I mean,
Oh yeah, I'm going
Because
with
for most of
going,
the
where
entire
people
human
can shit
existence.
in something that's sort of like a toilet, and I'm all set.
Yeah, you can shit one of those medieval towers where it falls down 1,000
Yeah,
feet.
those are cool. Yeah,
Those
and
are
Rome
shit.
it was more of a big giant pit you shit in, which is how people lived for most of the time, which is fucking weird. But
Well, yeah. Well, also Rome had one of the earliest irrigation and plumbing systems. That's one of the funny things with the Dark Ages, which hasn't happened since the Renaissance, is that there was entire cultures that went backwards in technology.
love
They
that.
had better plumbing in Rome than they did in London 400 years
Today.
later.
Yeah.
Today.
or
Actually,
dude, honestly,
yeah.
dude, in Greece, when I was in Greece, they don't, most of the plumbing in Athens,
Mm-hmm.
public city like restaurants and stuff like that, you can't wipe your ass toilet. Toilet paper goes in the
Goes in the
trash.
trash. Yeah, because they can't.
Dude, I'm at
deal
a
with it.
restaurant with a ton of people, and people are wiping their ass and putting it in trash cans.
I mean, you can imagine the. I mean, I've had some gnarly wipes where I'm like, that's basically all shit, and you don't put that in a trash can. You must
sure
have shit in the
do.
trash can at that point,
dude, I took a shit at the Parthenon, and oh yeah, and dude, and there's how many people there? I mean, a lot, dude.
Yeah.
Fucking trash can.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
so gross, dude. I guess plumbing is the modern miracle we all forget, which is that when you shit, it goes away, which wasn't part of human history until about 200 years ago. Ever since then, is like you just shit, it's still here.
yeah,
It only goes as far as you can throw it.
yeah. It's funny. That's just
Brutality.
really ridiculous. So yeah, let's just say 200 AD Rome. That's probably a shitty year. Probably like Nero was the president or something, and he's gonna kill me. But
I don't know. I think he'd be down with you in your crazy lifestyle. Like I think that he was mostly down with being a wackadoo. And if you're like, hey, I'm from the future and I like to get down and party, he'd be like, hell yeah, dude. That's what I'm talking about. All these people are trying to get me to like run an empire. They're fucking lame. Like I'm down with you, future guy.
yeah,
And he's so crazy, he wouldn't even question that you're from the future. You know, and other times
I'd have to go in guns blazing. No reserved personality that I typically have at parties where I just kind of chill out. I gotta go fucking nuts.
You gotta go all in.
Start burning human candles and shit, and just like let him know, like he did. You know, you can't. You see that guy could kill you. He'd be like, I just feel like killing you, so he's just gonna fucking burn you. You know, like you gotta.
Yep.
He's a hard one to work with because he doesn't want you to be a brown noser, probably because he'll kill you. He also doesn't want you to be an equal. He just definitely wants you to be better than him. So it's a real weird one to go with.
Yeah, that's a tightrope walk, which actually gives me a great answer for probably the worst time to go back to the past, which is probably around the time of the Salem witch trials or that kind of deal.
Oh,
where
that
it's like,
time
as soon as you
sucks.
show up and you're from the future, you're automatically murdered, which might happen in the past most times. I mean, I think that even in the medieval times, you got to assimilate. If you actually say, I'm from the future, look at my Nokia, they will kill you because it's like, whoa, that's magic. You're a witch. You're dead.
Yeah.
But if you go back far enough or further far enough, they won't be so, crazy about the superstition shit. You're more of like an asset than a liability. In a time in history where they thought different things need to be shut down, mainly, like I said, the Dark Ages, let's destroy all technology, even the good stuff, and read a book. Pretty bad. Anytime outside of that, though, pretty nice.
And within a 400-year radius of like colonial shit, it should literally just be called colonial
no-fly zone,
cold rat disease, fucking death. Like
you don't want to be there.
That 400-year radius is just cold, formal attire, wet disease. That's just an 800-year span of just disgusting white people who are wet and cold and full of bugs,
bad time,
and smallpox and fucking flu shit, and like no food and shitty housing. Like it's like that is really backwards as it gets.
It really is. It's bass backwards, as they say.
Yeah, as opposed to nice, warm Mediterranean, fucking wine flowing parties.
Hell, fucking
that ain't colonialism. If I ever fucking said it right.
Yeah, that's an empire.
Yeah,
which is why my answer is gonna be more lame because that sounds great, but I'm thinking about it more as like in our heads, it's like you can live in this bubble and take all the technology with you and just kind of observe it like a video game. Be like, hey, I'm in Rome, or oh, hey, I'm in King Arthur's court with my sword, and it's all fun like a video game. But if you actually had to be there, fucking nightmare, man. That's why I wouldn't want to go back that far, because even though I would like to experience it and see it, if I only had one jump to the past, it wouldn't be there. Because although people like to look at the past and harken back, there's better times back then. It used to be better off, better morals, better ideas, whatever. It sucks. There's no better time to be alive than right now. As much as the world sucks, it's the best time to be alive as a human. You have the best chance of comfort, you have the best chance of eating, the best chance of not dying by getting cut. I mean, you have the fucking internet. It's the shit. So for me, I would probably go back to the 70s or early 80s and be like, I get to experience the world. I still am relatively familiar with what's going on. I can still communicate with people. I can still experience the world as I've never seen it, and I already know what happened. And I can just kind of like, vibe and live in that world for a little bit and be like, hey, look at this. And this new sound by this band called Eddie Van Halen's band or whatever. Like, be like, hey, what the fuck? Like this ACD Australian band or shit like that, where it'd be like you're kind of still familiar with what's going on, but it's totally foreign to you in the fact that you never existed in that time, but you still feel comfortable in it. And it's kind of a lame answer, but I'm not going that far back. I still want
like a solid number 2, dude. Like for me, because it's like you can go to Shakedown Street before it got ruined. And you can because that used to be a general like fun barter Woodstock shit. It's cool.
Sure.
And then it's all the good shit that we have now still then, but it was the original of all the good shit we like about today was all then, and it was authentic as it gets.
Yes, for sure.
I just want like the biggest possible change where I know there's wine and bread.
Yeah, no, that does sound
female companions
fantastic.
And some crazy shit, like
absolutely.
Where like if I have money and whatever, it's warm, it's
yeah, no, that ain't bad. It's a great answer too. For me, I'd be like, at the end of the night,
yeah,
it's like I'm just sleeping on a fucking hay bale and there's just marble everywhere, and I'm wine drunk, and this has been a great time, but I'm hungry,
Yeah,
I don't want to eat raw fish today. Like, this sucks. Like, this whole place. Even the emperor lives shittier than I do now. I got heat.
Yeah, it's true. It's gonna be good fish though, dude.
Gotta be great fish. It's
gonna be great.
But yes, that's my answer for the past. What's your answer for the future? How far do you go? You get one jump.
I think you gotta go. No, I mean, I know technology increases tenfold every day at this point, but like,
we have to take the same ideas into account we just talked about. Can you even fit in there in the past and the future? How far away do you have to go before you're the Romans who can barely even speak the language and have no idea what's fucking going on?
I think you go as far as you can go with what we know about fucking dog. About
the dog.
Dude. God damn it. Can you hear me still?
No, just leave it full volume. The dogs you can barely even hear them.
All right, good. So I think you have to do some math here and some predictive shit, because if you go too far, it might be just an apocalyptic wasteland. If you go not far enough to a point where we haven't either hit a tipping point where we're where you want to go right where the fifth element is. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that is the sweet spot.
That's the sweet spot right there, where you got
Dallas.
You got flying cars, shit. Things are taking
hot alien girls who want
hot alien girls, dude. Wine and stuff like that. Because if you don't go 100 years, might not be crazy enough to be like, oh well, it's just okay. Moving the phone is everywhere now and whatever.
Yeah.
I want to see some infrastructure changes pretty hard, and some flying cars and some flying transport that's uses propulsion technology that they developed there at 51. That is like alien UFO stuff. I want aliens for sure. I need them. Need to see that. Like, so
that would be fantastic.
That might not we might not see aliens for another 100 years. We might not, whatever. But you go shoot 400 out.
Wow,
Kansas
that
is
would
pretty
be unrecognizable, I think, right? Because 400 years in the past is the Salem witch trials,
Yeah.
and technology exponentially increasing. I mean, from 1920 to now is more of an advance than from 1600 to 1920. So it's just insane. So we might just be like, I don't know what the fuck is going on here at all.
Yeah.
But it would be insane to see that far in the future and what it actually looks like, what it feels like to be there.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like I don't want all the problems in the world get solved because then it's boring, So that's why I mentioned Fifth Element. He's driving a fucking cab, dude. I want some of that. I need some grit. I need some adversity. I need some weird shit, but I need some interesting shit to look at. Maybe some other. There's all sorts of interesting things. So I'm shooting for probably let's just
400
played safe 350.
350.
Yeah.
So 2372 would be that one, right?
72.
I don't know. Yeah, 2370. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be pretty good. I think I would want to go again, pussying out, but I want to go a little bit more shorter than that. I mean, just because that's just like you might just be able to sit in like a cotton candy machine and be like, I don't know what the fuck's going on here. Like, I mean, imagine trying to explain a cell phone to somebody 100 years ago. That would be impossible. But 100 years from now, it'll be much more difficult to explain that to us now because technology is moving that much faster. That if it was 400 years in the future, I don't even know if I would be able to understand what the fuck's going on whatsoever. I mean, I assume people are still eating. Maybe they're not.
Yeah.
Maybe they're all tapped into the hive mind. I'm going to play it safe again. And I say 100. I'll just say cool 100, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. And see what the fuck's going on there. And we're going to assume the planet still exists at that time. That's a deep assumption. We don't know if that's going to be true. But although we might not have met aliens by then, I think I could still feel maybe relatively understand what the fuck's going on, have people teach me or whatever. Hopefully they still speak Mandarin like we have now, and I can learn it on the ride over.
Yeah.
And then I can figure out what the fuck's going on. But at the same time, it'd be so cool to see the future. But I think if you go too far ahead, like 1,000, 2,000 years, you'd have to just do it like the past in a bubble and just witness it. Because if you were living among it, you would be so foreign and you'd be so alone and terrified that it wouldn't even be worth it. I mean, 1,000 years in the future from now, you picture like, oh, we got laser beams and robots. No, not at all.
No, it's
1,000 years ago, they pictured maybe, I don't even know what they pictured, magical horses that fly. They had no idea what the fuck we're doing now. They didn't know the internet. They didn't know anything. Like it would be terrifying and strange. And I think that the unspoken crazy thing about time travel is that we're built to live around 80 years as a species of humanity, and you jumping outside of your reality so strongly like that has to be like visiting a city coming from the country back in like ancient times and be like, what's all this? It's overwhelming. I mean, you can even go to major cities today and be a bit overwhelmed if you've never been to one. Imagine going to a city 1,000 years from now. You'd feel like you were the most lonely person on the planet, and it would be terrifying that you'd feel like you're paralyzed by what's going on here. So almost like being an old person on Instagram.
Yeah, I disagree slightly just because even 400 years ago, if you look at now, it's just not as fucking exciting as like you think it's going to be. Look behind you on your wallpaper there, like that's
Hill Valley.
It's fucking it, dude. That's what it looks like today. And that's what you get, and so one, nothing's ever gonna be as excited as you think it is. Two,
that did to the bank.
That is a fact. Thank you. And then two, human wants and needs over the past 4,000 years of recorded history have never changed.
That's a good point.
If you go even 1,000 years in the future, granted, we're not cyborgs. So I don't know what they want or need, but like the human soul and heart and stuff like that is going to want the same thing. So you're going to have an understanding because you're still with the same fucking species.
Yeah.
You're still going to have two balls, one dick. Well, I don't know about that actually after everything that's going on, but like, for the most part, like it's
it reminds me of the Shawshank Redemption when Red gets out of prison. He goes, the world's passed me by. I'm going to fucking hang myself. Because like even 40 years is too much time to be like, I'm just not part of this world anymore. I don't know what the fuck's going on here. And that guy lived in present reality in that story. I can't imagine going so far in the future, people being like, You'd be like, hey, what are phones like here? And people would be like, what are you talking about?
Give yourself 6 months. You'd figure it out. You'd adapt. You'd be good. They're still gonna, be like, hey, drink this, you'll feel weird. You're like, okay. And then, like
Yeah, I think even that's being assumptive. You're gonna drink something 1,000 years from now.
well, I know that you can't live off IVs. Like they're like, oh, I would just love an IV all the time because I hate drinking water. It's like, no, your body needs to drink things through your mouth. Like it's important to.
Well, much
Your
like
body.
wormholes, as of right now, our technology needs us to drink water through our mouths.
As of
1,000
now-
years, 1,000 years from now, is that still?
dude,
necessary?
unless you're able to all the soul, you're born through a human body, and then your soul is, or your brain is transferred to a computer immediately, which would be completely pointless and stupid. You
You think that you're talking like a true 2000 liver, true millennial.
yeah,
Maybe it'll be insane. The very fact that you'd be like, why would you want to have a body so you can rot and die and feel pain and hunger and suffering?
well,
Why would you want to put your kids through that?
that's what the Gray's aliens are saying. Like they have less body, bigger brain because it's all in the brain. So they have, they communicate telepath, whatever the fuck, like
Yeah.
because it's the ultimate version of us is probably aliens. So like the aliens you think of on
We
the
talked about this
Greys,
before. Yeah.
yeah, that's probably that could
I mean,
be
it's
an
our most
alien-
important feature. That's why we have the biggest brain size per
Yeah.
skull. Yeah.
right. That could be a million years of evolution where you get an alien who does not require it to destroy the environment around it because they figured out some food source, like you said. They don't have to eat animals, they don't have to burn fuel, they don't have to do whatever it is, they don't even have to fucking talk because it can lead to disease. And then they do everything in their brain, so they're able to communicate,
Mhm.
entertain. They don't need to have sexual reproduction, so they fucking just have some other thing because just all the things about life are just taken away and they're just one big thinking fucking pot.
Yeah. And that would be terrifying to us, but to people in the past, it would be terrifying to be us now. I mean, it's the kind of shit that you would put your family through back in the year 1000. It would be abuse. You'd be arrested.
Yeah.
To have your wife have 5 kids and 4 of them die and 2 of them starve to death, that would be abuse. You'd be arrested for putting your family through that. But at the time, you'd be like, this is how the world is. And now in our world, if you had your kids be born, you never took them to the hospital, you didn't feed them, I mean, you'd be a terrible monster. In the future, maybe us even just wanting to just have kids the natural way and just have the world happen to them might be considered abuse to be able to put your family through the suffering of the mortal world that we live in now. I mean, the aches and pains and all the shit that can happen to you. I mean, it might be saying that, like, why would you put your family through that? You're putting them at risk. Even jumping into a car is saying at any given time you could kill your entire family. So doing that is a crime because you're putting your family at undue risk. So upload them to the supercomputer and live in paradise in your own brain or whatever and understand our real reality. Besides that, you're basically unbelievable. It's Sarge.
Gone.
He knows. But yeah, I guess that's all I gotta say about it. It's interesting. Who knows? Who fucking knows?
Who knows? So anyways,
Want to do final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm gonna segue into that with this.
We really are in the future.
Final thoughts.
So
Oh, dude, I love it. You gotta give me that. I gotta do that for every final thoughts from now on.
yeah, from now on, this is what we're doing always.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts are: I'm a 100% believer in time travel. I think that there's just
You believe that Mad Money Mike actually did it?
I think Mad Money Mike I'd definitely end up on that beach dead in 1939.
There's no other explanation.
No
It
other
had to be it.
explanation for that at all. And I just like always, these are all theories. It's 100% theory based, just like everything is.
Yeah.
But there's just something we're missing. There might be some secret laws where about time travel it's so well protected that it is. And then there is, I know that this is the theory, but like nothing's saying that someone doesn't just have some government just has the machine. Then one person goes back and comes back in 30 minutes. You know, it's weird, but like you can.
What do you mean by 30 minutes?
Sterile. It's so sterile.
30
Like,
minutes their time, 150 years our
No, but
time.
it's 30 minutes their time and our time. So they're there. It's like you get 30 minutes to go to this thing to go do something, and you come right back and you don't fucking touch anything. So they might have a little version of it that doesn't.
How do they
affect
not
the
touch
world yet.
anything though? I mean,
No,
you're
no,
insisting.
you know what I mean. They don't fucking fuck thing. You know, like
I'm telling you, as I was saying, it's more complicated than you wanted. It's
no,
not
it's
a fucking
so much
movie.
more complicated.
It's not a movie.
We covered most topics of how complicated it is, but I do believe that this is something that it's just got to be possible. I believe.
You want it to be real, therefore it is.
Sure do.
Time travel.
So
Yeah, I want it to be real as well. And yeah, I think it's a fascinating topic as always. And obviously I can talk myself into a tizzy. It literally is like the circular conversation. I could fucking, what about this? What about that? What about that? We don't know. And it's an amazing concept. The very fact that it is possible to me makes it fascinating. And much like you said, just because we can't do it now doesn't mean we can never do it in the future. Only the fact that it's impossible within our reality right now, because if it wasn't, they'd have to do all kinds of extra methods to hide it, which may be also possible. Maybe there's the theory of like, oh yeah, in the future, time traveling is a tourism thing. And you have to have a fully cloaked ship and you can only watch, you can't interact or XYZ or whatever it is, or they have to do the Men in Black brainalize people and act like you were never there and they forget or whatever. But even that affects the thing. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I think it's a fascinating topic, and I hope it's real, because how fucking cool is that? I mean, like I said for the safe states earlier, if I had any superpower ever, people always ask, like, what superpower do you have? Ooh, I want to fly. I want to be invisible. I want to be super strong. Wrong. The only power, the greatest power, is a power to manipulate time. If you can manipulate time, you can do anything. You can fight the strongest person. You can fly. You can climb the tallest mountain. If you could rewind 5 seconds, you'd be the strongest person on the planet. And if you go to the future and the past simultaneously, you'd be a god. Time travel is the ultimate. And I think that it's such an ingrained part of human culture, because we are the animals that are cursed and blessed with the cognitive power to understand that we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. Fucking party on, Garth. But yeah, we know we're going to die. So we always think about what happened before. How can we change it? What's going to happen? We can plan for the future. We can regret the past. We can have the pain of losing people. We can have the joy of bringing new people into the world. Time travel is just the ultimate thing. And no matter what technology we create, as soon as someone can manipulate time, it's game over. I don't care the strongest bomb you can make, the fastest ship. If you can change time, you run the shit. That's that.
That's it. We never mentioned Roger from American Dad can do this. When Snot's about to get hit by the bus. Yep, a lot of those things. So that's it. That's final thoughts, and that's time travel. DJ BP, and we'll see you guys next week for something.
Down with the sickness.
Hell yeah! And I'm gonna turn on the time-o-meter now, and now that we finished the podcast, I think we should go back to the beginning and maybe see how we did. What do you think?
I think that sounds great.
I'm just gonna crank it up now. All right, and then you and I will just kind of watch ourselves start the podcast here.
Okay. You ready?
I was ready yesterday.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Welcome.
No, remember when you introduced it and you were like, "Oh, what do I say?"
Yeah, I can see that right now.
Yeah, that's
episode. Yeah, man, I can't wait till I do the Stephen Hawking thing.
And that's gonna be great when you do
really
that.
funny,
See, look at us. We have no idea that's coming up.
Yeah, no, we have no idea. And then the Rome discussion. And then fucking Marty
Unknown,
McFly and all these things.
Is that what that's really what I sound like, huh? I can't never learn anything.
I've got.
I want to go to Stephen Hawking's party and be like, hey buddy,
lame.
there you go. That's what I'm talking about there.
Because
He's
you
not
go
talking about
see-
Jorge's birthday party.
You know what?
on
You're right.
Quinceañera or
We should
whatever.
definitely go
Talking
further
about
back.
The guy
if we're
who was
gonna go through
claiming this is
time.
impossible. What
Let's
a
just
better
go back to
proof than
Rome.
Go back there.
Because
I'm gonna crank it again. We'll go to Rome.
Yeah.
Time, folks.
See you next time, folks.
See you next time.
See you next
folks.
time, folks.
See you next time, folks.
See you next time, folks.
See you next time, folks.
See you
All
next
right,
time.
that is
folks.
at the
Dylan Joe Basin podcast.
See you next time,
so
folks.
54.
There's no time like the
All
present.
right, that is at the Dylan Joe Basin podcast. So 54
Present
with you guys in a week.
There's no time like the
Still
present.
watching stuff?
That's right.
We'll be
Hmm?
present with you guys. Still watching things? Are you in Rome? Where are you?
Oh no. yeah. Let's wrap it up.
Still watching
Oh.
stuff? All right.
No, you trust me.
Still
I'll make
watching
it good.
things? Are you in Rome? Where are you?
Oh no. Yeah. Let's wrap it up.
Oh.
Listen to the Dylan and Joe Basement podcast. If you get down with bad bitches, I go hard in the paint every fucking night. Boom, shock, lock.
What does it actually do?
Well, that amount of electric energy directly into your nutsack is not a good thing for the human body. So it's a real jolt.
So it's a big giant joke. He's ready to go. He's buckling up and getting nervous and ready to go back to the glory days of football. And he literally just electrocutes his balls. And some guy sold him this, and that's the whole fucking thing. So one, nothing's ever me as excited as you think it is. Two, I was gonna say if you take a hot dog,
Please.
you take a really long. So it's just say you have a hot dog, and then you
Picture Nathan's famous.
you have a really long hot dog, and time is that hot dog from
Yeah.
end to end. Like you're at the beginning of the hot dog and the end
It's
of the
not a
hot
bowl.
dog, but it still takes you as long as it takes you to go through that hot dog. Cheers to Madman Mark.
Cheers, madman, and cheers to you for avoiding all the people you owe a bunch of money by faking your own death.
You're able to fold the hot dog in half and stick a pencil through it, and then
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm about to do. You're fucking my shit. That's
then-
exactly right.
that's a wormhole. So instead of getting from A to B with normal time, you're able to get from A to B by folding a hot dog in half and then just getting through there that way. Maybe no one wanted to still.
Ever in the
Ever.
infinite future.
In infinite future, no one ever wanted to go to that party. That's how much they didn't want to go to that party.
That's possible. It is. It's that lame of a party. The world's passed me by. I'm gonna fucking hang myself.
It's a basement podcast.